There, that's what we need. We need this meeting is being recorded. That's okay. We'll take out the bad jokes up top. So no jokes. Episode 2. We had a false start. Growing pains. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now I see the record button. That's good. So welcome to AWESTRUCK Podcast episode 2. Um, Rob and I were saying that we were not talking this week to kind of save up for the news. Good feedback from last week where we were talking about good story. We both were doing good stories about our friend Dan who called us in the middle of our days. Dan, we work. We are not on tour with the band Kansas. So you
Yeah.
just have your schedule whenever you want. You can call us where you're calling us a lot. We're very busy in the middle of the
No,
day.
we love Dan.
So
Dan has been a friend for 10 to 15 years. Um, he's an incredible artist, writer. Uh, I had done a story and a charity comic called Darker Image #2, which was to help out William Messner Loeb's,
mm,
where we kind of like stole image characters. And since we didn't make money, it's a fan comic. So
right,
me and
charity.
my friend Brian Milligan, he's the artist, did a Supreme story, and Dan's like, I'm gonna ink it. I'm like, yeah, ink it, Dan. You're awesome. So he's in a group called the T Club. That's a band. It's a prog rock band. They're really good. And I guess through his inner channels, he ends up touring with Kansas. Like, hey, we need you. Our guy's
Right.
out with some health issues. He signs up to do it for a little bit, and then the guy retires. And now he's part of Kansas.
Yeah, it's very strange when he sends us a video of like, you know, point of no return. He's right there in the front. I'm like, show my dad. I'm like, Dad, look at this guy's again. So
Yeah.
it's very where he's gonna be a future guest because and again, props to him because that's not even the instrument he plays. He doesn't
No.
play.
He's like, hey, can you learn 30 songs in a week? He's like, yeah, sure. Whatever it takes.
Right, right, right.
And it's funny because he'll call us. Like, yeah, well, I tell my wife and kids he's in Kansas. My wife's like, what? Carry on my wayward son. I love it. Like, she's going nuts. Like, she loves it. And I'm like, yeah, but I prefer to talk to him about comics. Like,
Right,
hey,
right.
you're rich and famous, rich, whatever that means today. But like,
Wow.
let's talk about comics. Let's talk about, Extreme in the 90s. Let's talk about Alan Moore, you know. Let's talk about the
Yeah.
own comics that we're doing. And he does.
Right, right, right.
He's like I said, he's a penciler, inker. He's a creator. He's creative all the way around.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have him on. I have him in my phone as Segment Dan because when I was gonna do an iteration of either a podcast or video show or something years ago, it was a Labor Day during the pandemic, probably 2, 3 years ago. I'm not sure, but I called him. There was Labor Day sales for comic book stores, but no one was because no one was going to comic book stores. So they were trying to do whatever they can. I think that there was a big percentage off trades. The comic book store, Glassboro Alex's shop, and I'm texting everybody. Everyone's busy. It's like it's a Monday. So I text him. I was like, "Hey, I'm driving now. You want me to pick you up and take you to take you to the comic book store?" He says, okay." And he's like, "I don't have a lot of money." I said, "Okay, we'll just put it in a budget or whatever." So I'm buying a bunch of dollar books, and I was doing pretty well at the time. And he had a stack of dollar books. It was like 30 books, and then he had a trade. It was an Iron Man trade. It was an Iron Man Iron Wars 2 trade. So it was like He's like, "Oh, John Romita Jr. trade for this percentage off, or I get a stack of books." And I said, "Look, you came out with me. I'll buy you the trade, or I'll buy you the whatever. I'll buy you the trade. I bought him the trade. Give him the trade." And I said, what we should do? I should have you on as your segment, Dan. I would take you like almost like a Rachel Ray, like $30 a day. I'll take you to a convention. Here's $30, and then you tell me you feature what you got. Here you go. Let's take a look at it. So that'll probably be a potential future segment Dan. So in my phone it says segment Dan in there, so it's really really funny. Segment Dan.
It's funny because at the time you had the money, but not like a family,
Right.
So you're like, I got the time to go to a comic
Right. Right.
store.
Right. Right.
And now it's like the reverse. Like, you're busy. He's got
Yeah.
all the money.
Stupid. Right. 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 It's
And we're
he
just
can
joking.
take
He's
us
not
out.
hurt.
He
He's a
can
normal
look.
dude.
He said he was buying us equipment, so don't. He's our
He,
first sponsor, so I'm
he's our
not.
first sponsor.
I
Yeah,
don't
he knows
know.
that.
I have zero idea, right? I know essentially what you make in a way, like just from things, and what I make. I don't know what someone in a touring band makes, right? We have no idea. So I'm
No,
just gonna
and I
say
would never ask.
we're not. It's not right
But
exactly.
he goes,
So I
Rob,
I couldn't come up with it.
he's like, Rob, I love the show, but you sound so horrible. He goes, it's great that you sound horrible. It should sound horrible.
Yeah, he's like, you guys. He was like, wasn't that great the quality? And I'm like, yeah, I know. He's like, but I like that. That's great. And then he's just like, I was like, look, I'm not in sound. You're in sound. Help us, help, that's fine. You can do that. So, But me and you purposely did not, in a way, purposely or not purposely, we didn't talk this week too much because I think we want to just kind of go into and rather than do our opinions on the phone, then try to regurgitate them again. We'll just pop them all in.
Yeah, we wanted to do it like as raw as
Yeah,
as raw as you shouldn't be doing it.
right, right.
And 3 hours wasn't long enough. We did it for about
No,
4 hours
no.
last week.
Well, that's I thought was kind of cool because like that was there was no even here. I'm actually going to change. Well, I don't want to be careful. I have my keyboard up. Should be no cat issues today. Keyboard's over here. Um, but I want to try to not think about the time, and just let it go. So like we were so restricted previously. But this is kind of the perfect time. So we'll hit the news right up top. We had the rumor last week of the Lobley thing. Basically became official at New York Comic Con. Hush 2 going to stay in the book, which I agree with. I don't always love them going outside of book.
No, that is 100% respect. Like, let's keep the legacy numbering, although it's not legacy. Like,
Yeah, it's like 148. It's like whatever. Like it's some weird number, but that's
well,
what.
158. It's 158,
Okay,
which is cool. I'd rather it be like Batman 958. That would be
right.
cooler.
Well, I want to say I think we talked about that last week. I have to look at the Batman book because I think they do have a little triangle. I think they do have a legacy number inside of like Batman and Superman, I believe.
Well, that's great.
So
A triangle which harkens back to the 90s when there was Superman was pretty much weekly, and they wanted the stories to continue from one comic to a different comic title. So they put the numbers in so you knew to go from Action to Superman to Adventures of Superman to Superman to Man of Steel. And then on fifth
right.
week, they added in Superman Man of Tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was that
That
Robert
was a
Stern,
quarterly
Paul
book.
Ryan.
It was wasn't it Kessel? It was Kiesel and Grummett, right? At first,
I think so. So hold on one
Carl
second.
Kiesel, Tom Grummett, phenomenal team.
Don't bark, buddy. Um, but yeah, but that goes back to the Frank Miller. Frank Miller Mazzucchelli was in Batman, just plopped right in Batman. So they should be doing
Right.
something like that. That's how that was. The
Alan
only
Moore was that
issue
flopped and
is
do Swamp Thing. It was like they didn't restart Swamp Thing. They didn't know what they,
right,
even though it was Swamp Thing Volume 2, he came in at issue 20, cleaned
right,
it up, and then gave us
cleans it up.
21, which is the Anatomy story.
Right,
So
right,
that
right.
was an interesting idea. And when Alan Moore took over Supreme, they plopped him in at issue 41. But issue
Right.
Supreme 40 was actually written and drawn by Jim Valentino. And he tried to go, hey, here's 40 issues of Supreme in one issue. I'm going to clean it up for you. I'm going to tell you everything that happened.
Okay, nice.
And
He
then,
was his editor almost,
and then
right?
next issue, everything Jim Valentino didn't matter because it's a new continuity. Same
That's fine.
character, new world. No, it works. And hopefully
But
we'll get that in a collection soon.
who did the first? Did Toddleman do the first issue of Swamp Thing? The first, or he did
These are the
21?
things we should look up, Mark.
Yeah.
I feel like he didn't do 20, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just remember the 20 was almost like almost a rarity because 21's like the start, and a lot of reprints I believe it had started at 21.
Yeah.
20 was like a I'd find it here and there. I'm like, oh my god, it's 20. You know what I mean? To me, it was a little bit more of a rarity as that. But no,
Because it doesn't, because it's a cleanup issue. And you know what? I respect Alan Moore for doing that. Like, hey, here's everything you care about. Let me just kind of wrap it up in a bow before I go in my interesting new direction.
yeah. The only thing I get nervous about is that after it ends, right? Like to follow that up, the last one was Azzarello and Rizzo, and it was basically the 100 Bullets team, and then Dave Johnson did the
When he
covers.
followed up Jim Lee the first time.
Right. So I wonder, like, to do that again. I mean, listen, Rizzo, so they're all around. They're all doing stuff like have them do Broken City 2 or something like that. Not that everyone's clamoring for Broken City 2 with me, but that's okay.
He's a good artist to follow up Jim Lee because it's not like another Jim Lee. Not that
Right.
there's a lot of Jim Lee clones anymore.
Right.
But
Right. It's
such
not
a
Ryan
distinct style.
Benjamin or Tyler Kirkham or something like that. So with the DC news, so that's I mean, it's not surprising news to me. I wanted news to be a little fresher. New York Comic Con news because the other thing that I saw was that Vertigo's coming back, but Vertigo's coming back with a reprint of the sequel to Nice House in the Lake, like Nice House by the Sea, but they're reprinting number one. I'm like, oh. And they announced zero other things, 0.0 other projects. Just say Vertigo's back, baby. here's a sequel that we printed in August. We're just gonna and
Mhm.
it's late, so they just basically canceled it, and now they're gonna reprint it. They do have the line on the side, but I do want to talk about covers a little bit later when we talk about DC and reviews.
You know,
Got the
I
Vertigo line
wonder,
on the side. Okay.
I
Uh,
wonder if they had something Sandmanish in the works to announce with it,
mm,
but due
uh,
to things with Mr.
due
Gaiman, they like,
to
let's put this aside for a while. Let this cool down
yeah,
or figure itself out. And but back to Batman and talking about reprinting something, they want to do a facsimile edition to Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee's first issue of Batman from the first run.
they're doing all of them.
So
It's a waste. I feel like it's so dumb.
it is a waste
I
because
don't know.
who cares about? Listen, first off, there's a lot of those comics out there. You can
Right.
find that issue. It's not cheap,
Right. So print. Yeah, but see,
but it's a
print runs.
facsimile of a comic that's only like 15 years old. Like, who cares? Like, what's neat about facsimile editions, like, hey, here's a book from the 70s with weird 70s ads and weird, coloring, and let's make it look a little weird and crappy.
Mm,
Or here's a book from the 2000s that just looks the same as the comic today. Same digital
right, because
coloring,
of digital coloring. Correct. Yeah.
same
Probably
probably the
probably
same
look
paper
worse.
stock. Like, if you want to do something cool with it, don't call it a facsimile edition. Make it like the upped edition, where here's a weird cardstock cover and
Right.
here's neat
Do an
paper.
awestruck edition. Do some
Ooh,
things.
it's an all
There's
struck
so
edition.
many editions of Hush. There's a lot. There's a lot. I think I have Absolute. I think that's the best one. But then I think I did like another new where Absolute with more stuff in it, and then you can get the Noir. There's a lot. When it first comes out, and I don't like DC for doing this, and they're doing this with something else right now. I think that I think something's coming out as a 12. They do it with the Tom King books, 12 issues. They'll do it 1 to 6, and then do it 2 to. I just feel like it's bad for retailers, being a previous retailer, that like you get stuck with like, oh, I have volume 2 of this, volume 1 sold out, or
Yeah,
we had
that's
struggles with Starman because Starman had all weird printing, so I could never give someone 5 issues of Starman at a time, you know. Uh, so no good. I'm not even sure if they did all the soft covers whatever the omnibuses that did. I don't even think they did. I don't think they ever got to do all the soft covers for that. Way to go. And now they just have 2 compendiums with 2 different cover stocks. So I don't have it. I don't have those. No, because they have a glossy cover stock on the second one, but not the first one. So anyway,
if you
that's
had
my
asked me,
OCD format person. I apologize in
if you
general.
had wanted,
Not
if you'd
really.
asked me, like, hey, what do you want Jim Lee to draw? I would have said DC, anything but Batman. I know Batman will sell the best. There's nothing Jim Lee draws better than Batman. You can hide stuff in the shadows and in
Yeah.
the darkness. You can, people love Batman. It's the number one selling book. But like, is it interesting?
Right.
Like, to me, it's like I would love to see Jim Lee draw Wildcats. It would sell the worst. I mean, it can't be worse than like his Immortal Men he did with Dan DiDio.
Right. Right. Right.
But
Which
like,
did 2 issues maybe. I
kind
don't
of.
know.
I don't. Did he?
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
think he completely drew the first issue. Did he have Ryan Benjamin help him? Somebody help him.
Yeah.
Like, he's not into this. It was a bad idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but we're getting Jim Lee Batman, and it's cool. I guess it'll look nice. I hope he's really putting his all into it. His commissions are always gorgeous. He's such a good.
Right.
He's so good when he inks himself. It's so raw. It's not like that. Jim Lee has that polished look. Did they announce if Scott Williams is inking him or not?
I don't think so, but I imagine it's going to be the same crew, I believe. Like I feel like it's going to be the way it goes. I feel like that's how it is.
Scott Williams has really done a lot of stuff independent of Jim Lee lately. He's been doing
Mhm.
X-Men stuff and just he's like, hey, people, I'm an inker, but I can pencil too.
Yeah, he did a cover. He did a cover for my brother's. He did a Batman Catwoman cover. Did a variant for that, and it was actually and I have it. It's actually a Scott Williams pencil and Jim Lee inked. So that was different. I've never
Oh,
seen
it's
that.
different.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
and that
pretty
was for your
cool.
brother's company.
Yep. Yeah, for 616
Mark's
Comics. Free plug,
free plug for your brother. Your
free
brother,
plug.
who is not as into comics as us, has his
Right.
own comic variant
Yes.
company.
Successful. So very funny. Yep, absolutely. Hey, that's good. Do your own thing. Whatnot. Well, we know that from Liefeld sales that we know that Whatnot's a whole other beast. Which we
Yeah,
may get into later. So a whole other beast. So I missed the show last night. I was out. I was so sticking with the news. I've got a prop.
I think we
I've got
yeah, I think we squeezed everything out of the Jim Lee Hush 2
yeah.
story.
So they're doing a sequel to the JLA Godzilla Kong. Same team, fine. I think it was Buccoletto and Christopher Ducey. So great. It's very good. It's very good.
Yeah, because
But
anyone can
like,
read it.
give me right. It's actually the best Justice League book because it's not it's not it's not like touching anything else. Like it doesn't have to. You don't have to have read Dark Crisis of Infinite Earths and or Dark Knight's Metal, whatever. Any dark thing, no dark to read. But just give me something. The cover looked like the same. It didn't. It almost looked like issue number. I think it was 7 issues. It almost looked like issue number 8. So they show like 5 covers. But like I don't know. Like I feel like if they had that opportunity, throw like Mothra in there. Just like put some. I would say I just feel like they should, or maybe put like an extra character in or something, or put like get Jet if they actually I'm not well no yeah do Toho does have the Jet Jaguar or do like Kamen Rider or something like I think you should do one more or what if you
Right.
did
Whoever else Toho owns, it's like let's throw them in.
does
You know,
Kong need to be in it? Well, you know what I think actually no I guess I'm
is it
actually
is it
figuring
more
out
legendary or Toho?
yeah I think I just figured it out I think we just figured it out I don't think that they can do anything else but legendary stuff whatever's in Legend but there is a lot of stuff in King of the Monsters so there actually is
You do bring in a Pacific Rim, right?
I don't
No.
know
You know what? No, I
is
know
that
technically you
legendary?
can't. It's
Yeah, I know technically you can.
legendary, but
Right, right, right.
it's Del Toro, so it's different.
Right. Well, I told you to read that Dawn Runner. You got to read that Dawn Runner book that Ram V and Evan Cagle, who are going to be doing DC New Gods in the future. That basically is almost like a Pacific Rim. It could be a sequel very easily. Could easily fit in that world, but it has enough ideas that it's its own thing. So yeah, I like the announcement of the JLA Godzilla Kong 2, sure, and they're gonna have cool variant covers of like you glow in the dark or the noise, the howls and the Godzilla squeal and all that, the creonk. So that's fine. Again, 3 fine announcements. Fine. The two that I like, the two announcements, two DC announcements that I liked the most was um, Absolute Martian Manhunter, which had a Javier Rodriguez picture. It was very Ditko in style because it just had like a guy standing there and then it had like almost like just like dots and like patchwork, you know. So as much as I want a Martian Manhunter to be, like the green person, I'm curious at that, you
Yeah,
know.
but it was an interesting look, and the success of Batman is just like we can do anything now, and we're getting a lot of books.
You
It's like
should.
we did not.
Yeah.
I didn't expect a Martian Manhunter book.
No, I expect Superman to be a little safe in a way. I just feel like that's just always been the Superman way. It's going to be a little bit safe. And then the other thing, speaking of Superman, is my favorite. And Dennis Camp, who I haven't read. You've read the Ultimates stuff, the new
Yeah,
Ultimates.
I really enjoyed that book.
I haven't read any of that stuff yet, so I gotta. I don't know anything about Dennis Camp, but I'm happy he's getting some work over there
You know,
too.
it's
Um,
interesting, like because they made the announcement for officially for Ultimate Flash and Ultimate Green, not Ultimate, Absolute Green Lantern, Absolute
it's
Flash.
confusing, right? Yeah,
A
confusing
lot,
because they're the
but
same. They're
sometimes some of
kind of
these
the same
books are like
things.
names we don't exactly know who the creators are. Like we know who they are, but they're not names. They're not well-known creator names. And I wonder if they're doing a little too much too fast just because Batman was such a success, But are they rushing it?
Mm,
Are they rushing in a way that like Marvel did? Because Marvel, when they brought back Ultimate Spider-Man and the Ultimate, they also did Ultimate X-Men, and people love that
right.
book because it's Peach.
Peach from Mocha.
What
Yeah,
was that?
Peach from Mocha.
Yeah, yeah. But like it doesn't quite fit in with the other Ultimate Universe books. So, and that's why they're giving us the
Right.
Ultimate Wolverine comic. It's like, oh yeah, here's it doesn't quite fit. It's a great book. People love it. It's gorgeous, Peach's book, but like it doesn't fit in with a universe. And I wonder is if this absolute Martian Manhunter, as wonky as that first image looks,
Mm.
is it going to fit into this dark world that DC's creating?
I think you might. Yeah, I think so. I feel like if they can. I mean, the whole point of it is, and I do think that there's a format issue with the absolute stuff. I don't understand with absolute and all in. I don't understand the cover thing. The whole thing with Ultimates is the Ultimate books, and for the first so many issues, they had almost like that. What was that? Mark? Was that Flare, where they did the Fleer?
Oh yeah, the card series in the '90s where they airbrushed original art and it didn't.
Early digital airbrushing.
We weren't happy with it.
No,
because as
but
comic fans, we like a solid ink line. Like
and I
that's
want
just
to
my
say,
own personal opinion. I want to see the ink.
yeah.
I want to see the lines. I want to see the work these people put into these comics. And when you got it digitally airbrushed in the 90s, it was fancy
Well,
looking, and it
yeah,
applied. And some people liked it.
yeah. First issue of Ultimate Spider-Man is a Casada cover, but you wouldn't be able to tell that supposedly. Like I have no idea. That's not. I don't know. It
Yeah,
just doesn't look like that at all.
I think that was a Bill Jemas move because Bill Jemas came from Fleer Cards and
Right.
created the Fleer cards for Fleer Cards. And then he's like,
But
"Hey guys,
but
I love this.
having
Let's
those
bring it to Marvel."
sides, yeah, but having those sides, it made it look different on stands.
It was a
So,
uniform look, correct? You know,
and I think, and that's the way the Ultimate Spider-Man looks now. And like those books look a little different on stands. And I feel like
yes,
absolute, if you're going to adopt the idea of that, if you're going to kind of, and again, listen, they both, that's just the way it's always been. There wouldn't be a Marvel Universe if it wasn't for Justice League, right? You know, it wasn't for Martin Goodman. It said, hey, Stan, can you do something like this? You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, can we have that? Okay, I'll make Avengers, sure. You know, I'll throw some people together.
At the
So,
FF, dude. And then he has a
fine.
story about my wife told me to do it.
Well, that's the
Yeah,
tell the
there's
story
the
enough
legendary.
times. Yeah, right. When that's been
So,
partially debunked. So, um, but I think that looks good. I think Aquaman was announced. Jeremy Adams, who we're very happy with on the Flash Gordon
Jeremy Adams,
Matt gave.
super nice guy. I mean, I'll just bring him up now since
Oh yeah,
I met him in New York, and he had noticed I have a T-shirt. Maybe I'll wear it next week, where it's the Super Enemies, and that's the evil version of the Justice League from an early Super Friends episode. So we started talking about Super Friends, and he informed me that Alan Burnett worked on Super Friends. I didn't know he was doing
oh
that
I
stuff
didn't know that.
for that
Okay,
long, because that's where Jeremy Adams got his start. He was doing the DC animated movies. He did a Darwin Cook's animated movie,
okay, okay.
um,
Yeah, New Frontier.
New Frontier. So, and I said, Jeremy Adams, I said, I love your Flash run. I said it was great, and what you're doing on Flash Gordon is incredible. And he said, well, how
I
about my
didn't, I
Green
didn't
Lantern
realize it's
run?
Flash and Flash, right? That's
Right.
funny. I
He
didn't
goes, what do
realize
you think
that. Yeah,
about my Green Lantern run? And I hesitated because I'm not as caught up on that
I
book.
haven't. Yeah, I only
He's
read the
like,
first issue.
I'll win you over. I'm like, you will, because your Flash Gordon and Flash are so good. He won me over on Flash because of that 1 minute war. That was a
Yeah,
really great story, drawn by Roger Cruz.
very.
We love
It
Roger
was a lot of
Cruz.
tension. Yeah, we love our Roger
Yeah,
Cruz. We like new DC reimagined Roger Cruz. There was early Roger Cruz, but Roger Cruz on
early
Robin.
Roger Cruz, where he's Jim Lee. He's like, let me copy Jim Lee. And that wasn't by choice. He worked in a studio where the guy's like, you want to draw comics in America, bud?
Yeah,
You copy
yeah.
Jim Lee.
Was he in that? And it's so funny they did a effect.
Glass House Studio.
The facsimile. They did a facsimile a couple weeks ago of like the one Sabretooth issue, the Wolverine Sabretooth issue with like the painted Hildebrand cover that folds out like four.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
that issue
Wolverine
has
90.
yeah, Adam Cooper 1992 like as Adam Cooper in it, but that's a notorious like swipe file book because like copycats in it, and that's like from like lifted from like different Jim Lee, like one of the jumps from this is from a Jim Lee book, or that like that was one. And then Bleeding Cool, before it was Bleeding Cool, I guess it was something else, I forget what it was called, but they had a swipe
Lying
file.
in the Gutters.
Yeah, they had a swipe file where they would post swipes being basically traced, maybe light boxed, but basically essentially the same exact pose. And it's probably much easier to do and done a lot with now, probably much easier to do now.
That whole crew of artists were forced to copy in the beginning.
Yeah, it was
Roger Cruz,
Fabio
Davey
Laguna.
Laguna. Who drew New Gods for that brief moment before
Luke
John
Ross.
took over?
Luke Ross.
Luke Ross.
Luke Ross eventually came out and has a different style later.
No, they all did. They all come out.
Joe Bennett.
Yeah, they're all phenomenal artists now.
Mhm.
Like they're like, here's what we can really do. And
Right.
Yeah, they're great.
They gotta get paid.
Right. Where were we? Where did we start this conversation, Mark?
I talked about Jeremy Adams is on Aquaman and
yeah, that's a good move.
Superman Action Comics. So I've been talking about John Timms with you for a while because John Timms I always really liked. I would always see these Harley Quinn books, and I was like, man, this guy's really good. And I'm trying to think he did something right before, but he graduated a little bit. I think he did some of Bendis's Legion stuff, and then he graduated over to Action Comics. He did the Action Comics that Jason Aaron did,
right?
Which I
Beautiful.
loved, which I thought was great. So
great 3-issue storyline.
Yeah, so the preview art for Aquaman had more, and I'm happy that it's not just Dan Mora doing everyone's complaining about that last week. Everyone's costume design, but there's a ton of John Tim's artwork of like all different designs, a ton of different Aquaman designs. So, and I think there's a lot of art up for that now, so that's good. But yeah, so we kind of buried that too. Like, so you had Jeremy Adams. So you went to New York. You
Yeah,
went
I
to New
went to
York
New
Comic
York.
Con. So I have news articles here. You were there, and
Yes.
actually and you went by and I know this, we didn't talk about this, and I don't think this actually happened, but I'm gonna try to will it to power. I'm gonna try to manifest it. Right? You went to the Atlas Seaboard table, and you got me a Hands of the Dragon #1 reprint. No, no,
Sorry.
it's okay.
Apologies.
There's only 400 of them,
I
and I
did
think
not
they're
know there was an
probably
Atlas
gone.
Seaboard table. We
Right?
perhaps in our
Atlas
adventure
Seaboard.
to not
Listen,
talk to each other all week.
they
We
paid for. I didn't know about the. I didn't know about it until Atlas Seaboard paid for your Wi-Fi there. You're welcome.
That's
And maybe
incredible.
they had a very small. I saw like a thing because someone made a joke about it online. They were like, "Okay, Atlas Seaboard's here, and they're so Migo bought the rights. So someone new has the rights for Migo, right?
Okay.
And Martin Goodman's grandson is somehow involved in this too. So Migo made a deal with Walmart, and this also really confused. Frank Barbieri has said that he is the digital marketer, someone at Walmart. So they're going to have Walmart comics, which they had before, by the way, and I have some over there. They had Walmart comic books. They had someone license it. And they had a little like side cap thing. They were all $4.99, and I have a bunch of them because they were on sale and they were all clearanced out.
Are you talking
Right?
about the DC books they did?
No, I'm talking about they had a separate. There was literally a line. It was just like Red Rooster, it was Mitch
Oh,
Breitweiser
right.
and Butch Geist, and like I have a handful of them because I went to my Walmart and they were all $1 a piece, and I was like, oh crap, and I got a bunch of them. They're not scanned. They're not. There's no bootlegs of them. They're not available, and I have a
That's right.
handful of them.
They chose not to do digital comics and sell them the proper way. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, they were in a side cap, like when I'm looking for like throw pillows for my couch. Yeah, great job. That's literally where they was in the Walmart near me. I'm like, okay, I wasn't looking for them, but I'm just walking by and I'm like, okay, cool, good job. And they were all like, clearance, get these out of here, please.
So
I should have took the paper. I should have took the whole side cap. Because they were going to probably throw it out. It had like feature art on the sides. I should have just taken it. It's like, hey, can I have this thing? They're like, we don't care where.
we have to explain because you and I are so in deep. Not everyone listens to that is in deep. We have to explain it. Not mansplain it, nerdsplain it. Nerdsplain it? Is that a thing?
Sure. Yeah.
Atlas Seaboard was a comic company created in the 70s after Martin Goodman sold Marvel to a conglomerate, to a company in the 70s. The deal was you got to keep my son on to work here. They're like, yeah, sure. So as soon as Martin Goodman sold it, like, all right, kid, you're out of here. So I pissed him off so much. He's like, I'm going to make my own company. And it's always a smart move to go against Marvel. So he
always
poached the talent because he knew him, paid him more, told him he was going to give him rights, some of the characters, or at least some back end money. And he created this incredible comic line of characters. And nobody's ever heard of them. I mean, except for us in comics. But, you had Tiger Man, Destructor, the Morlocks.
Wolf the Barbarian,
so good. Iron
WULF.
Jaw. These are really fun comics.
Lomax. Yeah, they had and there's 20. It was 27 titles, and each one had no more than 4 issues, and almost every
During those
2
4
issues,
they might not have had the same name. That title of the issue might have changed during those 4
Target,
issues.
John Target, then it was Target. Like it was right. There was no editorial and everyone's because either they did get paid or they didn't get paid. There was lots of editorial problems.
Yeah.
Tiger Man looked different in the 3rd issue, and like it was a different It was Comic Tropes has the best recap of that. It's about 40 minutes long, but if you go on Comic Tropes and search Atlas, they have the best recap.
They probably did the
leave the
research
show and I guess come back or just
it's
make
better than 2 40-year-old guys
trying to
remember.
right.
Our research
We've had
is minimal.
pieces of them from dollar bins. I sold I sold my Atlas collection. I think in total it's about 48 issues. I think I had about like 42. and I sold it for a lot. I went for like almost $400. Like, and you can find them, and I just found some. I just found some up when we were in Baltimore
Yeah,
for a
they're
dollar.
easy to find, hard to get all of them. You
Can't
gotta
get all of them.
once
Yeah.
you get a big chunk, really good.
Hmm.
You know,
But that's what killed that is the cash flow for that company. Uh, just was bad because they didn't know how to set up the distribution to newsstands, and it would have been longer. But from that, basically, that's what eventually spilled out and became Pacific later, and
yeah,
just it became the continual.
let
I'm
people
going to
know that
have a
they could.
guy in boots, right? And the characters themselves, if they liked them, they took them. So like Devil Slayer, or it was something I forget what Demon Slayer in there was Rich Buckler, and he's like, I'm just gonna put him in Defenders. So he was in Defenders later. He was Demon Slayer or Devil Slayer, one of the two. I think it was Demon Slayer
Right.
Marvel.
And Scorpion created by Howard Chaykin, right? Scorpion. He's just like,
Yeah,
I love this design.
that's all. That's
So
Chaikin's design at that time. He's gonna put
he's
boots on
now,
him. It's like a Han
yeah,
Solo design, basically. He's gonna
right.
have
But he's like,
boots.
I'm just gonna make him Dominic Fortune. Good.
Yeah,
That's Dominic
same
Fortune.
exact character. Yeah,
You know,
the
it's funny.
Scorpion.
The distributor problem came about because newsstands only have so much room. And Marvel probably went, well, you could sell our Marvel comics or you could sell Atlas, whoever these guys are.
Right.
But what comes around about Pacific is the reason they succeeded is because they were a distributor. Like they got away
Right.
from
Right.
the
Right.
newsstand distribution and went direct to stores. And then that's when a lot of those companies decided, hey, we can distribute our comics. And that's why that works so well. And you know, Pacific, we should get into them sometime. But they actually were
Yeah, we'll
good
have
with it.
to, when we're so organized about it. But the thing that I thought was weird about this is that if you went to the Atlas booth, so they made a deal. So this is what was confusing to me was that Frank Barbieri, who wrote, I don't remember, was it something Ghosts, Five Ghosts, something like that. He had some comic book stuff as a writer, creator, uh, in the 90s, 2000s. But it said he was the Walmart liaison. So I'm like, okay. Um, but new Mego, making them just like old Migos. If you went to that booth, they had similar to what McFarlane's doing in packaging. You could buy a Devilina. Devilina was in their magazine. The Seaboard was more magazines that was trying to compete with Warren, trying to compete with
Right.
Marvel. Uh, but Devilina was their Vampirella.
Mhm.
So that's the character they stated. Same thing. All these announcements most of the announcements had no creative teams. So I just don't know for a lot of people, for a lot of things. There's just like, hey, we got this license. Okay, give me something. Give me at least a writer. Give me something. But this,
I'll text them. I'll be like, yo,
they just said it said Deviline is going to be the first one. They're like, I was like, that's the first one. You're not gonna. That's the one.
yeah. Yeah, obviously it
But
should be Tiger Man.
yeah, but they had the Grim Ghost. So the Grim Ghost was in one book. One book. It was Gray Morrow. But
Mhm.
same thing. But so if you went to the Atlas Seaboard slash Mego booth, and I think it was mostly Mego stuff because they only made they made a reprint facsimile 400. They gave him out, and Larry Hama was there, and he was signing him because he did Wolf the Barbarian. And I guess I want to say too, I think he retains the rights or something because they mentioned in this one interview I saw online because they interviewed with a toy podcast last week, and it was a couple guys from Mego explaining the distribution deal. It was kind of boring, but it was interesting because I'm just like, what are you doing? They were struggling to almost describe what Atlas was. And like, we got the rights to this thing that was kind of blown up and was around for about 4 months. Okay, like you know what I mean? Like it was like maybe 6 months. So strange, another strange announcement.
That is a strange announcement. It's weird because the Atlas comics came out in the 70s. There was talk in the mid 90s when Image was big and everyone
Mhm.
was trying to make their own comic company. There was talk of bringing them back then, but nothing happened. Somebody tried to bring them back in the 2000s and didn't move the needle at all. In
Right.
fact, I have them, but I've yet to read them.
But if you
So
went
that
to the
tells you,
Mego booth, I want to say that they had Grim Ghost figures and Devilina figures, and so they had some exclusive ones right there. They said, then these are going to be in Walmart in 6 months. I'm like, who is going to Walmart and be like, do you have a Grim Ghost figure besides me? But like, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, that's
it's that
so
hope that a
odd.
mom walks down the aisle and says, "Hey, here's a guy that looks like a superhero. My kid must want him."
He looks like Phantom of the Opera, but he's got a blue mask on. He looks kind of like, you know, the magician. You know, I just don't know. I just don't
See?
know who's.
I'm tripling down on Tiger Man. I think if a mom saw me go Tiger Man, she's like, "This guy's
Here you
Wolverine.
go.
Here's Wolverine, son. Thanks,
I don't know.
stupid mom. It's clearly
Yeah,
Wolverine."
we love that. We always loved when we would get off-brand toys from our grandparents or aunts and uncles.
Oh, they're the
We're like,
best.
oh, okay.
You know, somebody
Or
tried to rip off Mego. They tried to make their own version of Mego toys, and Mego took them to court. And they're like, "Well, how do you know we stole your molds?" And Migo's like, "We purposely put our thumbs backwards so nobody would steal our molds." And that's why they always had the backwards, stupid looking thumbs.
oh, I didn't know that.
And
Wow,
then
that's funny.
yeah. So that's how they know. That's how they got them. We
Oh my
purposely
God.
did something stupid.
All right. So
Ended up
the
being
other
smart.
thing,
Give us more news, Mark.
the IDW logo is causing some waves. The new IDW logo. Now,
It was not good.
it's not good, but
It
it
looks
looks. When I
like
first saw it, it looks like the television channel was it Information Discovery or whatever, like that. Whatever, the murder channel. My mom would watch it. How to
it,
Murder Your Husband. I'll watch that. You know, like that's what she would watch. ID.
it looks like Hawaiian
Underneath it has a
Punch's hair.
W, kinda.
Remember Hawaiian Punch, the character, the little guy with the red hair?
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
what the IDW logo looks like. Looks like one piece of his red hair, like a deer antler.
And listen, my pet peeve of jobs. Okay. I've had an open dislike for George Clooney Batman. Not that he was in the Batman movie. Fine. I have dislike of him crapping on it. I don't like that. I look. You took the job. You got paid a lot. That's probably your biggest payday ever. Just say I did it. Don't say it didn't come out the way. Because again, you know, we talk about this. I don't believe that people. There's a even in comic books, even when we talk about our reviews, when we say, you know, all struck, dumbstruck, no one's trying to make this bad. And if they do try to make it purposely bad, it usually comes off and it usually comes out even worse. It doesn't come off right. You know, it's like when you make Samurai
Like
Cop
a rush job. If
2.
somebody's doing a
Yeah.
rush job,
You make Samurai Cop 2, you can't do it. It's the magic's not there. It's not it's accident, you know, it has to be accidental or lots of factors. But I don't like people taking money and then crapping on the work. I think that's terrible. So this guy Nathan, or his name now, because it made me mad. Nathan Whittick, he's still he is the director of design. So when the logo got backlash on whatever, you know, Mark Waid has to have his whatever. So a bunch of people crap on it. And then he kind of draws inside the spaces and posts that. He's like, well, he says, I gave them a billion designs and they picked this one. So he's kind of blaming. He still works for that company. Like I don't do that. Like you know.
companies historically choose the worst design. Every artist will tell you, "Hey, I sent Marvel 3. You know, here's what I want. Here's 3 cover sketches." He goes, "I'll always choose the worst one." He goes, "So what you want to do is send them really bad ones, so they kind of choose the one you want." He goes, "And even
Okay.
that fails." So it's almost like don't give them an option. Like here's the IDW logo. You guys should go with. Don't give them a bad option.
Yeah, I just don't love that. But they announced they're going to go back into rebranding some horror. So some people left that company, and I want to cover that in a different time because I know one of the people that started that company peripherally. But and then they were there. Speaking of no announcement, they were there and they had like I think a press conference. Zero creator announced. Just stop announcing things. I'm announcing my company. But even think in Baltimore, wasn't Scott Dunby there? He's like, I announced my company. What products you have? It's coming out. Coming, things are
Yeah,
coming.
yeah. I tried to have a little bit of conversation with him. He wasn't really forthcoming with any information
No,
or
he fought with
conversation.
you. He kind of fought with
Yeah.
you. Yeah, we'll have to go through it. Like our Baltimore stories weren't that great, but like so that's kind of all my news. I didn't really like. There wasn't really a lot of the only Marvel news I forgot to write down is there was a Marvel Daredevil Charles Soule book where they're doing an old man Logan and Charles, so they're doing and Steve McNiven drawing it.
That's a pretty big deal. That's a
Yeah,
I mean,
but
all right. Hypothetically, it's a big deal because it's like, hey, here's the guy who drew Old Man Logan. Let's get Old Man
yeah,
Daredevil, and that's cool. And you know what? It's coming on the precipice of having the Daredevil TV show. That Daredevil TV
right,
show is hitting
sure,
March 3rd or 5th, or it's real early March.
right.
Um,
Uh, and there's a
but
little
funny
bit of
enough,
preview art of that. I don't know if you saw the preview art for it.
I saw one thing.
Okay. McNiven at one time was just he was just his own thing. And I feel like since Death of Wolverine, he's become more into like, I'm going to research this artist for a while and draw like this. Because Return of Wolverine or Death of Wolverine, whatever, Death of Wolverine,
Death of
uh,
Wolverine.
looked a lot like Barry Windsor Smith,
Yes.
right?
It looked very interesting because we don't get new Barry Windsor Smith, but at the same time, we miss Steve McNiven.
I want to see. So it was a comment. It was almost like a third member. It was interesting, because I feel that um, I think Liefeld had in one of his podcasts where he talked about the Machine Man miniseries, where it was
I was
like
just thinking about that.
it's
Funny.
Herb Trimp. Yeah, Herb Trimp and Barry Windsor Smith created a third person. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
A new artist that it does not look like either one separately.
Correct. So,
Yeah. Like
great.
when McFarlane would ink Liefeld. It looked like
Correct. There
you
is
could
a
see it was them,
magic.
but there was a magic there. You know what's funny?
There's
Liefeld went back and re-inked some of that stuff. Like he's, I don't like this. Infamous. The New Mutants 87 cover. One of the most famous Liefeld covers. First appearance of Cable. Inked by McFarlane. He went back and fixed Cable's face. He's like, I don't like the way McFarlane did this. And you know what? I don't blame him. That's your character. You do
yeah.
what you got to do.
Yeah, there's something, but to me, I feel like whatever McFarlane was doing, because I think about his X Factor covers, X Factor 50. I think about
Beautiful.
that X Factor cover, and I think that how Beast is just a bit more like I think he's elevate. He comes at you a little like it comes off the page a little bit more. I'm looking at your diary back there. It's coming off the page literally, but like
Right.
I feel like if McFarlane drew it and had some other little like whatever, I can't really. It's hard to describe like exactly what is being done technically, but it just seems to come off the page a little bit more. I feel when I think of the '87 cover, I think of Cable's face, not the. I don't know if I think I've ever seen the reprint. I've seen I think he did like another new cover-ish of or a whatever, a reprint of something. But I just feel that it's a bit more like out. I think that's what we like before. I feel like it was a little bit more 3D. It was a little bit more new world. Spider-Man is a little bit closer to us.
Right. That's what I'm reading.
Advantageous,
The
right?
web
This
line
web
is
line.
advantageous.
Advantageous. Okay, those are one of the. Let's talk about my words, right? So I don't know how to pronounce things. So one of the early things that came out went in the comic book times, and Rob had to correct me. And this is just literally words I've never seen before in things, right? Maybe because I'm not
Right.
that well
You've
read
never
or
heard
whatever.
this word.
Never heard this word. So I think it was when's Spider-Man 91, 90, 91?
90.
90. So Spider-Man #1. It's like geez, we might even by memory be able to say the first page and the second page, but the second page literally has like 1, 2, 3. It's like uh I don't know, but it's almost like the same in Spider-Man. It's almost like leaps tall building, and Superman leaps tall
Right.
buildings in a single bound. They were trying to do a Spider-Man thing like that, and then he wrote his web line advantageous. But when I
Right.
remember reading it, I was like advantageous, like because I've never said it out loud. So I'm like reading it as a kid. I'm like, yeah, I'm 13. I'm going advantageous.
Nobody
No one
uses
uses this
that.
word,
Yeah.
and we're
McFarlane's
scared.
like, what's a big word I could use in this issue? Like,
Yeah, right.
I'll teach the kids to learn big words.
Where's my thesaurus? Let me see. You know what I mean? Like,
I did see McFarlane at New York, and he was being hustled
oh
by
yeah.
real fast. Yeah,
If
I
it
knew
was
he was
two
there.
o'clock, he left his own panel because he had some meeting.
You know what?
He started the panel. And he says, "I gotta leave. I got a hard out." And he's like, "Your panel's for like an hour." He left like about 25 minutes into his panel, I believe.
He goes, so this girl's handling him, and she's like bringing him through, and there wasn't anyone around. And I go, McFarlane, you're awesome. And he turns around, he goes, no, bud, you're awesome. And he does me the guns.
Finger guns. You got finger guns shot by me, Tom McFarlane.
Like getting
That's
called
awesome.
bud by McFarlane is
Bud.
the highest.
Oh,
That's the
wow.
highest honor. That is an honor.
I guess I guess if he said Bub, that would have been a little bit better. I was like, oh, he's Canadian, but I was like Bub, like Wolverine. No, that's Bub.
No, bud.
No, Bud.
Hey, bud. He
It's
loves
okay.
it.
Listen, that's whatever. You know what I mean? That's a great interaction. That's what you want. You know what I mean?
That's a
what
great.
you want.
I can go have a half an hour conversation with Eric Larson, but McFarlane said one thing to me.
Right. Yeah, I can run the lines at Rob Liefeld's booth. No big deal. For like 7, 8 hours, hang out with Chris Claremont. No big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like talk to Chris Claremont for an hour. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, when you talk to Chris Claremont, you just listen to Chris Claremont.
Yeah, you say, "Hey, Chris Claremont," and then he's like, "When I and Nocenti," like, and
Dude,
he'll just go. Oh
it's
man,
great. It's like
that's why
you just want to listen. You want to listen to these guys between
I
their
wonder.
behind the
Hmm,
scenes stories, between what they're doing. You know, Eric Larson has a 10-page story for Marvel done for a year and a half, just waiting for it to be announced. Hasn't even been announced yet.
hmm. What is it, Spider-Man, or what is it, or we don't even know?
Mark, it hasn't been announced yet.
Oh yeah, well, I know that.
Hit me after the show.
Right, right, right. Well, even let's talk about, because let's say let's do like some news that from Baltimore news that was not announced here still, and I have it in my phone. The first cover, even though it's kind of glary. So I don't understand. So we're talking to Tony Harris. We're at Tony
Right.
Harris's booth in Baltimore, and he has some Starman sketches for. He's got some prints for sale, and he's talking to someone. He's drawing stuff, and I think it's his wife, she or handler. Like she was looking and, oh, do you see that? So what is this?
My wife's a
Is this a
handler.
print? So I'm not sure if that's. I'm not going to say anything.
Sip.
I'll say nothing to that. I'm going to stay out of that. But there's a like a completely fully painted star. I said, "Is this a print?" He's like, "No." She said, "That's an original." I said, "What is it?" And she said, "Oh, we're doing like, I think it's 6 issues, Black Label." They announced it. I'm like, they didn't announce it. Like they look, we're just like, they didn't announce this. Says, oh
You know
yeah,
why they
you
didn't
know,
announce it?
James.
Because next week it'll be Absolute Starman. It won't be,
No,
but it could be.
and I kind of asked her because he was telling, listen, great, I'm happy he's busy, but I didn't talk to him. I didn't talk to him one on one. But I wanted to know because at New Jersey had a Comic Con. I forget what it was called. I don't even think I don't even think the organizers even have it anymore. But years ago, there was supposed to be a moderator for this panel, and it was Tony Harris and James Robinson. And James Robinson had like a Dynamite book that just came out too. I'm trying to remember how long ago that was. But um, there was no moderator, and me and this other guy in the front just asked questions. So we were kind of running the thing. There was probably 50 people in there, I mean, I recorded it, so I'll have to put like a special edition. But I wonder because they talked about a Lost Starman story. Oh, we want to do this. We're going to go to the Orient. We want to do this. So I want to say, because I remember them saying that that's happening, because there was like, I think there was something. There was a dragon. I don't want to say per se, even though it's going to be the first cover. Like it seemed Starman across. It was overseas. I imagine that it was probably not new because he looked, still younger. Not going to be in continuity straight.
To inform the three people that watch this, Mark is the
Dan,
official Starman fan. He's the first guy who was really into it that we know.
yep,
Loves Starman. We didn't talk about this last week, did we?
hand cell. No, I was a
Okay.
hand cell when I had the store. I
You
just
ran the comic
here
store, right? You loved it, and
money back guarantee.
I read issue 0 and I liked it, but I didn't want to commit to another book. And then you're like, no, you have to commit to it, and we all did. We had a whole store of people reading Starman.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it was it. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I know that when they had like an official, uh, like kind of jumping on point issue, like 32 or something like that. Like I got a ton of those,
And see, people
and
gotta
hand sold a
realize
lot of those.
that's one of the reasons comic book stores are so important. Like
Hmm.
you build everyone up to like whatever someone came in and liked, even if it was a not a great comic, is a nice way to put it. You're like, hey, I like this ink line on this book. Goodbye. But you promoted Starman, so everyone bought Starman. You know, I didn't really work at the store, but I was associated with it because I delivered your packages to you.
Right,
And
right.
I'm like, hey, everyone, read Invincible, read this, Alan Moore Supreme, and the
Yeah,
store
this
would
Walking Dead
sell.
thing's kind of crazy. It's weird. It keeps going. You know what I mean? Like, what's up with this? Like it was.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think that was. I think right now, if I had to, maybe we'll wait for that for reviews. Like, I would say Dawn Runner is the best thing that I've read in a couple years. I think that's amazing. You got to read that before, and I'm very excited for New Gods because of it. And I'm just shocked that, like, I've never seen this Evan Cagle guy before. He did the cover. He's done the covers for Detective Comics for the last like 3 years for Rav V. But this Dawn Runner book was just incredible, like
all
really
right.
incredible.
I'll definitely add it to the list of things so I can talk to you
Yeah,
about it and not
yeah,
just
yeah.
shake my head at you.
Right, right, right. So New York.
New York. Well, let's Do I have
Oh, so
anything else for news? News.
yeah. So well, the Starman.
Team-
So just say that there's
Oh, yeah,
no.
wrap
I
that
don't
up.
understand. There are certain things that are announced that I just are not. They're not out yet, or it's not a big deal, or there's not really a good and Bleeding Cool is so hard to. There's so many ads. I have to scroll. I can't see anything on
It's
that. It's
McDonald's today. It's like,
unbelievable.
oh, am I on the McDonald's app by accident? Nope. Pretty cool.
It's unreal. You can't finish the article, or the article's done, or the article is barely an announcement, and then it's done, and then
Or
it's
worse, there's a spoiler
a
in the
bio.
picture
Mhm.
or the article title. I'm like, you guys
And
suck.
yeah,
Somebody
don't
dies
do
this
that.
issue. I'm like, I don't even want to know that somebody died. Don't
Yeah,
even tell me that, because now my brain will go, well, it's one of these people, and then I figure
yeah,
it
yeah,
out,
yeah.
and that's not fun.
No.
Been cool, do better.
So in New York, so what was the vibe? Was it crowd? You went
Well,
for
one
one
other
day,
thing,
2 days? Oh
I
yeah,
went
sorry.
just Friday. I feel like I got everything done. I was going to go 2 days,
Mhm.
but I was exhausted. I
Yeah,
didn't get any breaks. I worked all week and then went there Friday.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I had a really good time. What other announcement did you see? James Gunn is writing a Peacemaker comic.
Yeah, but to me, I don't.
I know he's writing it, even though he's
I
like a phenomenal writer.
I know, but
Like,
I don't like. To me, I'm not yet. James Gunn. It's almost like when we talked about last week with Guillermo del Toro's um, Hellboy is its own entity. I feel like
right?
James Gunn's universe is its own entity. So they had the Creature Commandos trailer, which I thought was a movie. It's a series. I don't. I'm confused.
Yeah,
I thought it
it's
was
a
a
cartoon.
movie.
It's a cartoon series.
Okay. And I saw it, and it's basically okay. It to me. And I think it's diluted not because of him. I think it's diluted because of everyone's trailers are this now. Everyone's trailers is all right. We're gonna get a song from the '70s. Everyone kind of knows,
Yeah,
and then we're gonna break it up, and there's gonna be gunshots, and we're gonna have the drum beats to the gunshots, and then we're gonna repeat, and we're gonna distort this part at the end. It's like, gotcha.
you figured it out, Mark. You
I
you
I
cracked the
figured
code.
it out. I could
You know
go edit
what?
one.
We should do a trailer for our podcast.
We should, and I'll do the same beats, and
Do
I'll
the
be
same
like,
thing.
look,
Pick out a
boom,
70s
boom, boom, boom,
song.
boom. Yeah, I'll find a '70s song. You know,
We'll make our motions to the beat of the drums, and then I'll say something funny, and then you'll laugh, and then you'll look at me weird.
but it's exact. But to me, like his even Peacemaker, that Peacemaker is not exactly DC Peacemaker. That Vigilante is not Vigilante, kind of at all. Still great, but it's like it's that version of it. This Creature Commandos is not necessarily the Creature Commandos that Weasel's not a DC character. Yes or no? Is
He is just not a big.
not like that.
No.
Not in that way.
Yeah, but no, Mark. Post New 52, has any DC character been themselves?
Now,
They've
don't
all
excuse
changed,
it.
and then they
Don't
try
go
to bring them
that.
back.
You're not going to
And
do that to
there's
me.
always been a history of.
Don't you excuse James Gunn's retrocon? No, no. So like now, the only thing I'm excited about of this, what excites me the most about the Creature Commandos trailer? I think you'll know exactly. Well, two things, but let's see if you get one of them. What's the most exciting thing for me in that?
It's been a while. I only watched that trailer one time, so I kind of forget. I forget everything. I watched too
So,
many trailers. What's exciting for you, Mark? Wait a minute. I
what
can't think.
character excites me the most
But
in that lineup?
Weasel, right? Don't you love Weasel? Is that what you're
No,
talking about?
no, no, no. So like actually we talked about this last year. Was my favorite part of Geiger, the Jeff Johns like Dr.
Ghost
Manhattanish
Machine.
character, whatever his Ghost Machine
Yeah,
thing was a side character called Junkyard Joe,
correct.
which is GI
Oh, that's right.
Robot.
Yeah, GI
So they
Robot.
have
Yeah,
GI Robot, and they're using GI Robot, I think, the right way in this. I think they're using him as like
right.
an aloof machine-ish
He's a
thing.
sex robot that they reformatted for war.
So, so I don't know, like, but to me, like, it felt, but it's still, I don't know, I don't know. We'll have to see. Also, I don't think there was enough Frankenstein in the trailer, or maybe they didn't record the lines yet, or something. I'm not sure because Frankenstein is going to be
Probably just saving them for.
David Harbour,
Yeah, they're probably just saving them
Hellboy,
for
Red Guardian.
big scenes.
Yeah. So it looks good. I mean, again, but they do the same. Like, all right, we're going to show tiny origins. We're going to do a trailer, tiny origins. These guys do. You know, okay, all right. So to me, it just ran, and it's the same. It's the same thing though. But it's Rick Flag Senior doing
Correct.
the Rick Flag. We're in a helicopter, guys, and we're gotta go down there. Ready? Like it's like it's same thing. It's the same thing as Suicide Squad 1, the Suicide Squad 2-ish. And it's just the same thing. we're the ragtag. So I just don't know. I don't know. It's fine. Again, I feel like I'm very
You're
negative.
gonna
I'm so sorry.
listen. You're right about everything, but you're gonna watch it and be like, yeah, I still like it though.
Well, I didn't want Peacemaker, right? And I love Peacemaker.
Correct. Correct. And
So yeah,
America loved Peacemaker.
yeah. So, but to me, yeah. So to me, it was a non-announcement. The DC Peacemaker whatever series they're gonna do with Tim Seeley. Tim Seeley's gonna write it. So James is gonna be like, I think Eagly is gonna be in this thing, and that's it. So I
It's
just feel like
happening.
it's gonna be very
Unlike Bryan Singer
fun.
writing Ultimate X-Men.
That's
Remember
fine.
that for
That's
years.
okay.
Bryan Singer gonna write Ultimate X-Men.
We don't need that. No,
You
thank you.
didn't need it. Yeah. So the thing about Tim Seeley, and I didn't get a chance to talk to him. He's the one person in New York that I did not get a chance to talk to. But I was extremely disappointed to learn that Local Man, Images
I didn't
of
know this
Tomorrow,
either. Yeah, I didn't know
25,
this.
was the last issue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no, this is a book I really enjoy. Like, this is a good comic. Him and Tony Fleeks. Is it Fleeks? Fleece? I'll pull a mark here and mispronounce it.
We don't know. Yeah.
I don't know because we got to ask him.
Right.
His names especially are bad to pronounce. Which as a comic fan, you know.
I saw an interview today with Jason Fabok, not Fabok. He wants it to be Fabok.
So
and I think I'm actually saying it wrong too. I think I'm still saying it wrong. I think it's somewhere in the middle there. It's not Fabok. Because someone interviewed him, the Comics Are Dope guy interviewed him, and he says, "Oh, you pronounced my name right." It was like the first thing he said, and he wasn't pre-rehearsed. It's kind of funny. You saw his face. It's like, "Whoa, someone pronounced my name right. Awesome." It seems like the most disrespectful thing. It's like when people give me, like, or they write to me on an email. It's like Mark with a K. No, thank you. You know what I mean? I'm like,
you hate it, dude, because it's the masculine version of your name. You don't like that.
It was almost a full spit take, almost a full, just all over the desk spit take. So, very good.
So, Jason Fabok. Yeah, because it looks like Fabok, but then I hate English class. But yeah, it did make sense. There's no E after B, so it would be a short A. Fabok.
It's a Washington's dream too. You know what I mean? We'll
do whatever we want
with the English language.
Yes.
A dozen. I read a dozen this week.
So infamously, the word Mark pronounced totally the worst was we pronounce it as amalgam, is when things come together. But when the comic company Marvel and DC did it, what was it, Mark?
Amalgam. Yeah.
Give me those
amalgam.
You weren't alone. People came in the store looking for amalgam comics.
I sold it. It doesn't matter. Whatever.
I'm sorry, sir. I don't have
equal opportunity speech.
But I have amalgam
situation. Yeah, I'll
sell you the comics. Customers. Don't correct customers.
No. Actually, I think my favorite strange customer interaction was when it was a Planetary Authority. Is that what it was? Right?
Yeah.
So one shot. No one's in the store. I think you were in the store an hour later. No one's in the store. This older gentleman comes up and hands it to me, and so, oh my God. And I have to comment on, like, oh, I just read this and here, and I open the center spread, and it's it almost looked like it was Phil Jimenez drew that. It was a very George Perez-y situation. There was 30 characters on it. So, oh my God, look at this. He's like, oh, I like it. He said, oh yeah, I inked it. I said, look at how cool this looks. This looks amazing. And he's like, oh yeah, I inked that. So it was Andy Lanning. So I was just like, oh my God. So like, I was like, okay. And I didn't know what to say. And I was like, oh man. I mentioned his Legion run, and he didn't really say anything. Because I think I probably just like, word vomited all over him, and I don't remember if he said anything after that. So, and then I was like, I'll take your $5.95. But like, yeah, it was kind of a crazy. And then you were in like maybe less than an hour later. So very cool. And you were there, and I missed Mark Miller. Speaking of mispronouncing, Mark Millar.
Yeah,
Mark Miller. I missed
that. Yeah, he came in. Tony, we had a mutual friend, customer Tony Tapia, who worked for Dynamic Forces at the time. This is before he had started Dynamite Comics. So he brings in Mark Miller, and he was funny. He was making jokes. He was telling lies. He actually told us the story. He's like, Eminem called me the other day because they were talking about the Wanted movie at the time. He goes, and he's like, I didn't believe it was Eminem, and I hung up on him. And then he calls me back. He's like, no, this is for real. This is Eminem. I want to be in your Wanted movie. And then years later, he's like, Eminem, I never talked to Eminem. I don't know why people think Eminem was going to be in the Wanted movie. That's dumb.
because
I'm
you
like,
were
you lied to
telling
me.
people.
You told me a story. You made
It's
up
a
a whole thing
straight
about it.
lie. That's a straight lie. Wow.
Um,
Okay.
he had some good. We're probably going to get it in the future, but Mark Miller wrote a Youngblood story called Youngblood Bloodsport.
Mm-hmm.
First issue came out.
Won it right.
And the first issue is really phenomenal. The second issue never came out. It was like a bootleg edition you could find, but that's expensive. But he approached Rob with a Supreme story first. He wanted to do a Supreme story. He laid it all out for us. I'm like, yeah, that's a really wacky Supreme story. But we're kind of glad he did this wacky Youngblood story instead.
Could have been Legends of Supreme #4.
It's funny. Legends of Supreme #4 got changed to the Blood Wolf Summer Special.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
same creative team. Still Keith Giffen.
Oh, okay.
Still Jeff Johnson and Penosian on inks.
Mm.
And they just like, well, the sales are going down. It's only selling 400,000 instead of 500,000. So we'll make a summer special and bring it back up to
Surely kill
600,000
for that. Right.
It would kill.
Well, you talked about we don't need replica editions of those Batman comics sold probably 500,000. But you
Right.
might need a replica edition. Something came out 3 years ago that was like a 30,000 print run because there's none of those.
None. And you know what? You could definitely print that on better paper because most Marvel DC comics from 3 years ago to today. Yeah. They take a little more time with them. They do a little better job with the #1s, but the #3s.
They could charge you $1 more like DC's. Oh, you want a cardstock cover? How about an extra $1? Okay, thanks.
To a real collector, it's worth it. But that cardstock cover is technically a variant, so it's not the official cover of the comic. So it can like break the minds of the collectors.
Yeah,
I love them. I love it because I'm still a collector, but I'm not that crazy collector that I once was. Or
right. Yeah.
I don't know how you're a variant collector today. I just do not know how.
I don't know. I don't think you make enough money. I don't know how that works. You know what I mean? I feel like it's it's an expensive game. That's why I typically wait for whatever collection. I'm a little mad at myself that I didn't just try to pop in and grab an absolute Batman last week. I feel like that should have been something I should just have, just a #1. And maybe I'll get a third printing. It would be good. I don't know. I haven't seen what the second and third printings are, but if it has a different color logo, kind of like what it used to be, but they have like just a different like Batman Killing Joke had like 16 printings or whatever. I had the 6th, I think, which was a pink lettering.
Right.
And I bought a first print, and then later on I found the pink lettering print for $3, and I bought that back and I sold my first print. So for $75, Killing Joke 75. I mean, come on, this is so dumb. What a dumb,
Yes.
There's so many printings though. Who cares? It's a green. Who cares? I don't know. It's exactly the same. Exactly the same. So any other whatever New York Comic Con stuff before we hit reviews? What was the vibe?
The vibe was
Too
good.
crowded? Friday?
It was very crowded for most of the day. Artist Alley. People love going to Artist Alley now. That wasn't a big thing in the past, but people love to hang out there. That's kind of where you want to be. That's where all your creators are. Upstairs is always good. All the booths are fine. There was a lot of people who weren't there this year. I didn't see the Image booth. Maybe I just missed it. Super 7 wasn't there, and I love Super 7. I think their toys are just phenomenal. They're a really good toy company.
Let's see, Image. I don't think is Image. The last time I remember an Image booth, it was almost half a Skybound booth. Like that's the thing. I don't think Image is Image anymore because Image is Ghost Machine had its own table.
Yes, I saw the Ghost Machine table. Everyone was there.
Right. Jason Fubach was there. But
Brian Hitch, Jeff Johns.
Yeah. So Brian Hitch, crap. So I don't know if there's an image like proper, because there's many studios inside of it, basically. Almost kind of like when it started. It was like Shadow Line, Homage Studios, Highbrow Entertainment.
The way it was then is the way now. It's like you said, it's Maya Ghost, it's Skybound, it's Generator. Is that what?
Yeah, the Rick Remender one. Yeah, Giant Generator,
something
like that. Yeah,
well, it's kind of similar to what it was then. It's funny when I was talking to Eric Larson. This artist comes up. This guy walks up to him. He starts talking to him about Blood Squad 7. And here, the guy was Paul Fry, the artist of Blood Squad 7.
Oh.
And he was showing him that issue. And he was thanking Larson for giving him permission to use Dragon in a flashback in Blood Squad 7 number 2.
He didn't have to.
No, he didn't. Oh, Larson's like, listen, if you do a comic for Image, you have free reign to put Savage Dragon in your comic. Image Central knows that. And that's the deal. He goes, if you don't work for Image, then the answer is no.
Okay. That's interesting. That's now.
But
that's actually proprietary now, because I think Larson would have Dragon and
in the past, yeah.
If it was done in good taste, but like, I mean, if Madman wanted to have a Dragon cameo on one of the like specials that he had, the Genchi special, I think he was in there.
Who wouldn't want your character in Madman?
I think but I think Howard might have been even working for Image at that time, so Howard works for everybody.
Yeah, Dragon showed up in a Bombast, right? The Topps comic, the Kirby book, Secret City, Topps.
Yeah.
And Larson's like, he's talking like the Thing. Like, at least I think Larson just wanted to like script things,
Yeah, and then Larson would do the same, because I want to say that he had Magnolia script Hellboy, or he gave him the space, and because I believe that there's a credit of Magnolia like pass on it or something, like there's something. So
yeah,
that's fine. That's cool.
No, that's cool. When Paul Cornell was writing Action Comics, and he wanted to have Death in an issue, he gave him a pass.
Yeah, I called him. Yeah, I think that's cool. So Paul Fry was there. Oh, did you talk to him more, or
was that?
Did you talk to him more about Blood Squad 7, or?
Yeah, he was there. Just talking about the Strike File comes out next month. Blood Squad 7, for those who don't know, it's kind of a take on. It's written by Joe Casey, and Joe Casey had written some Youngblood stuff for Liefeld, and he just has a love like us. He's a teen of the '90s, so he has a love for Youngblood. So Blood Squad 7 is his like love letter to Youngblood, but not like it has flashbacks, which are very '90s-ish, and then a modern story. Like, this is my Watchmen of Youngblood, kind of like, where are these characters today? They're trying to bring back a team. And some of it's very deep. Like, here's references to Youngblood Volume 2. That came out from Maximum Press.
Yeah, I didn't get the Shelley stuff until I think you told me about it before I read it, and I was like, oh, okay.
Well, that was in Local Man. Image has two.
Right. See that?
Image has two books right now. That letter have love letters in the '90s within them. They're modern stories, but definitely, they show the '90s love, and sadly, Local Man came to an end. Circling back to that, but not stopping Blood Squad 7 yet. But so Blood Squad 7. So yeah, I told him I was enjoying the book. It's deep. It's got really deep cuts. And he was like, yeah, we were doing all this about Youngblood, because Image doesn't have access to Youngblood. He goes, and then Rob Liefeld gets Youngblood back. So it's like, why are you even doing this? Well, obviously they have a different story to tell. It's not, Liefeld's not going to come in and tell a story like Joe Casey is. He's got to tell a Liefeld story. So I mean, as long as sales keep it going, but he's doing a good job with the book. And I didn't know when I was talking to him that Local Man had ended, and I think they had said it wasn't so much for the sales, it's that it takes so much time for Tony Fleeks, because he has other works. He has Uncanny Valley, which is a phenomenal book you and I love to talk about.
That's one of the best books of the year. Yeah, that's wonderful.
We'll have to talk that into a deep dive one day when it's
one more issue, I believe. And I know that I listened to an interview with oh my god, just blank. Who draws that? Dave Wachter.
No research, folks.
Yeah, Dave Wachter. But he had an interview recently, and he said that they have a story for a second, but it hasn't been announced yet. They have a story for a second 7 to 12, which they'll probably do as a separate, titled series. I think that's
right. A new miniseries, new number 1.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine. I hope it happens, because I feel like that is all the physics and the cartoon physics and that have been really great. So anyone else that you ran by, did you see Jerry Ridway? I know Jerry Ridway is always usually there.
I didn't see Jerry Ridway.
Yeah, we always see them around, but he's sometimes not at a table, just walking around.
I did talk to Marat Michaels. He drew Brigade.
Oh yeah.
He has his own company now called Counterpoint Comics, and they've done a successful campaign of Kickstarters. He's most famous now. He does the Do You Pooh covers. He did a Winnie the Pooh kind of parody comic, and he did a variant for it, and then another variant for it, and then 3,800 variants for it. So he holds the Guinness Book of World Records for variants. He just like sees a
He
comic
prints
cover,
them. How many at a time? He prints them 100 at a time, or like he
probably
prints
100 at a
them?
time,
Yeah.
but it's been
Okay.
so successful that's been kind of his career. And
Okay.
he's busy. People are coming up to him constantly, buying the covers, buying variants. They bring their own stuff,
Hmm.
and it's like this one guy's like, I only collect Moon Knight comics, but you did 3 Moon Knight Winnie the Pooh variants. I need you to sign
Oh
them.
wow. Hmm.
Um, and he ran a Kickstarter a couple months ago for an Evangeline, as Liefeld pronounces it, omnibus, which collects the first couple of miniseries, and that's coming together good. It's a smart move. Liefeld made the Evangeline movie announcement, and here's an omnibus at the same time. And Liefeld has nothing to do with it other than helping out with some covers and
Right.
it's
Who has the rights to
interesting.
that? So, but he's running the Kickstarter. Merritt, who didn't really work on the book, or he
Correct.
might add some stuff later in it
He might
potentially.
have did some layouts. The main artist was John Stinsman, who, funny enough, lives right near us.
Right.
He's a local guy
And
who moved
worked
to
at
California.
and he worked at a comic shop. He worked at
He worked at a local comic shop, Heroes World, which yes, that is the same Heroes World that became Marvel's exclusive distributor, which is another crazy. And then they had to change the name.
Right.
So he stole the name from the Hall of Heroes comics.
Awesome.
Say it. Talking to Marat. Marat's a really nice guy. And then there was no. Here's something interesting. Everyone's charging for signatures, minimum. All the DC writers, Snyder, Williamson, they're all charging $10 a signature. Tom King. So there wasn't really a lot of lines. Maybe I seen Snyder. Maybe he had a line early in the show, but he didn't have one when I saw it, which is amazing because you think absolute Batman, he'd just be crowded. But who did have a line was Jorge Corona. Jorge Corona is the character artist on Transformers, and he was always busy. I'm like, yeah, because that Transformers comic is so good, and he's a really, really cool guy to talk to. Knows his stuff.
I've liked his stuff for a long time. He's done a lot of stuff. I mean, I think I noticed the coloring. Rico Renzi did coloring on one of his books early, and that's how I noticed his art initially. But he's done a lot of it. Middle West, I think, is my favorite work of his. Even though
with Scotty Young.
That's tough. That's kind of a tough book, man. That's kind of a tough. It's a little bit of a tough read, and I didn't read the most recent one he did with Scotty, but I want to. It's all together now, so maybe I'll read it all together. But
so it's funny. Skybound came to him and like, oh, you want to do a book with Daniel Warren Johnson? And he's like, yeah, of course. I'd be a moron to say no to that. But they didn't tell him it was Transformers.
Oh, really?
He just assumed it was going to be like a new miniseries, and then yeah, and then whenever they finally started the job, it's like Transformers. He's like, yeah, tell me it was Transformers.
I guess they trust it, but that we were scared that we didn't want Daniel not to draw it, and I'm confident. I don't think about it when I read it. I just
because he's a phenomenal storyteller, and there's a similarity there of style. They don't draw alike, but he approached the Transformers in the way that Daniel Warren Johnson did, instead of approaching it the way IDW and Dreamwave had done in the past, which is still great. But he's followed up, and you had the fill-in by Jason Howard, and he approached it the same way because Jason Howard was kind of he's an early Skybound artist doing Astonishing Wolfman, so he kind of had an Otley, Corey Walker, feel. But like he's since evolved, and doing a couple fill-in issues on Transformers, stuff looks really good.
Yeah, he did the Energon Free Comic Book Day, right?
No, that was Ryan Otley.
Oh, is that right?
And that looked really good. Yeah, that's a definite buy. I hope when they do the trade, they just put that right in there. They should
make sure but make sure Skybound don't put the covers in there. We don't like that.
Yeah, God forbid you put the covers in your trade.
Very weird.
I don't get that. It's a weird Skybound move. They've been doing it since the Walking Dead trades. They want to keep them cheap. It's like, here's the story. I get it. And I guess they want us to wait for the hardcovers. But even the hardcovers sometimes leave covers out.
They leave variants out, or they put variants in smaller sizes. But the G.I. Joe Compendium, I saw an overview of that on I think Near Mint Condition, and they have the covers of the Marvel. But I don't know they did because I think it's G.I. Joe 1 to 50 in the Skybound compendium. But I wonder what issue 1. I guess they put issue 1 historically in there because they did have an issue 1 Larry Hama cut recently where there was a page where the dialogue was different. So I wonder what they put in there. or almost like Marvel Agent, almost have like the extra page later. Say this was the print page, and here's this. Like almost like a letters page. I don't know. I don't know. Any other news? Any other
Yeah,
reflections
yeah,
on the
yeah.
new
One
arc?
other thing. As we're leaving, tired, we're walking down the streets to the parking garage. We walk up to a corner, and I see Robert Kirkman standing there with a crowd of people. So he looks over at me, and I kind of give him the guns. I'm like, you're awesome. And
Say,
he
hey,
looks
bud.
over,
Hey there, bud.
and he starts talking to me because he kind of he knows me a little bit. I've known him for a long time, and he knows we're one of the same. We're '90s kids, Transformers
Mm,
kids. So I started talking to him about Void Rivals and Transformers and everything he's
mm,
working on, and he's
wow.
telling us some stuff, and then he's like, so finally he's like, oh, I gotta go, guys. I gotta go to the Harveys. I'm like, yeah, cool, go to the Harveys. He goes, yeah, we're giving a lifetime achievement award to Larry Hama. I gotta be there.
Oh wow.
And I
Yeah.
said, that's awesome. I said, that was really awesome that you guys kept this G.I. Joe comic running. He's like, yeah. He goes, that's the one contingent thing IDW wanted. They said, obviously you're working on the license. They're like, can you just keep Larry Hama's comics going? And he's like, yeah, as long as you stop it at $2.99, so I can do 300 and launch with 300 GI Joe number 300. And I'm like, that's an awesome story. He goes, so it worked out for everyone. And now
Right.
that
Right. Right.
book, more people are reading it now through Skybound than they were at IDW.
Yeah.
You
I
included, right? You weren't reading the IDW stuff.
I was not. No. No. And they kept the storyline because the storyline is like a zombie storyline, which is actually kind of funny that he goes to Kirkman's company, which basically exploded because of The Walking Dead.
Yes.
Of that influx, and he put that back into the company. But yeah, no, but they're keeping that going because that town just got zombified, and they're still doing that, and that's cool. So it is. Though, if you've read through, you can still read through, but that issue that when they started it there, um, that Image Skybound, like it was a perfect jumping on point. I think Mooneyham's back next issue, but I want to say that kind of the unsung hero of that is the colorist. Like I think the coloring of that book carried it because they have some type of uh like like printed dot style in it
That's
where
neat.
it's not exactly an 80s comic book or a reprint or like a UK reprint where they have the dots kind of heavy.
Uh-huh.
But whoever's doing the coloring, because I didn't want when Mooneyham left, they were like Paul Pelletier, and I'm like, oh cool. Like I wasn't excited about it, but very competent artist. Not to take anything away from him, he's been an industry staple, Green Lantern, been on everything,
Yeah.
everything for a long, long
He's
time.
there's books he's drawn I think are just phenomenal looking.
What was his step up? What was the cross gen step up? Negation?
Negation.
Okay.
Yeah, he went down across gen, and like almost every artist that went down across gen, he just became
Yep.
killer because cross
Yep.
gen said, hey, here's your studio, just sit here and draw. You have to do one page a day. And doing one page a day, they're like, well, I kind of have time to really work on this page. And
Right.
everyone who went down there came back like a superstar.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
did.
They had
And
discipline. They had certain discipline.
yeah, that worked out for, I mean, for him, for Scott Eaton, for Jimmy Chung especially. Like
Mhm.
I liked the stuff before, love the stuff down there.
Right. Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah.
you can just go down the whole list. I mean, they discovered
Brandon
McNiven, they
Peterson.
discovered Josh Middleton. Steve Epting went down kind of a sloppy artist with his X
Mhm.
Factor and Factor X run, and then he comes back with this refined line and does this incredible Captain America storyline that people love.
Yeah, I think Steve Epting. It's kind of weird. Like the Steve Epting Avengers, I kind of put on whoever was editing
Bob
Marvels. I
Harris.
don't know. If, yeah.
Oh, Bob Harris
Well,
was
no,
the
I think
Avengers
Bob Harris. He
writer.
wrote it. Yeah, he
Yeah, he
wrote it.
wrote it.
But they left Tom Palmer on for too long. I feel like that's one of those things where they left him on so long
Yeah.
that it was like, because if you read Avengers like 200 to 350 almost, it's like Tom Palmer inked the major, maybe even I think he might have even inked like back to like the 150s, 160s. Like he inked hundreds of issues of Avengers, but they had like a certain brush style on it that so Tom Palmer was heavier on that. Whereas Gene Colan, I think it works as Steve Epting probably at the time he probably needed a tighter line. And then you're
Mhm.
right, when he went down there, because that's where Epting inks himself, right? So when he came back to Captain America, which I didn't like that announcement, if you remember, I
Yeah.
was like, no, because back then it was like Greg Rucka was rumored to be that there was a lot of pitches for Captain America at the time, and then Ed Brubaker got, which I thought it wasn't that good of an idea at the time. Majorly wrong. Now I'm sitting next to, I don't know how many issues technically over here, but I have like this big. I sent that picture of that to you, right? Where I have like the entire Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips like library, like
Correct.
Criminal,
Yes.
Sleeper, Batman, Gotham. Like I'm looking at Houses of the Unholy. Like I have it chronologically this way. My
They are
chronological work.
they are beautiful books, and hopefully one day you can show off your page of original art. You bought a page of original art from that book. Like that's how much you loved it.
Yeah, and I remember when it was
Maybe
announced,
you
it
can't
was like
show it off.
I'm putting the art. Yeah, I gotta take it down. Yeah, but like I remember them putting the notes that they're like, I'm putting this up. And then that morning, I remember I had, and it was 130, I think.
Which isn't
Eh,
bad.
no.
No, that's
And
actually
and I
fantastic
knew
for a art.
exactly what page I wanted. And what I did was I ordered an extra Reckless book, and I ripped it apart, and I took the page. So underneath of it, I have the cover, and I have the actual printed page underneath, like a frame of the actual comic book page. It's pretty cool. And the individual comic pages signed at the bottom and everything like that. I eventually, Brubaker doesn't really do any. John Phillips isn't over here, but I think if he was, I think maybe would even take it to him, and say, "Hey, I bought this." I don't know. You sign it again. I don't know. I don't know what you
And
do with that.
again,
Can you sign this again? Can you trace over your own signature? Um, yeah, but overall, so okay, so it should have been like, oh, "Can you take me to the Harveys?" I would have just like,
yeah, yeah.
like,
I went to a Harvey's or two when they were in Pittsburgh. Oh no,
hmm.
they were the Eisners. I'm sorry, my mistake. I've never been to the Harvey's. I don't think. Right?
I gotta see if I gotta look up the panels, because the panels, a couple panels are online. The James Gunn panel, I believe, is online. I haven't watched that yet. But some of the panels are online. Some of them were live streamed, and sometimes they'll archive them later. So I'd be curious, like throughout the week, like kind of going back to that. So, but yeah, you ready for reviews?
One other thing that I heard happen. I only saw the headline. Like a fight broke out over a peach Momoka Spawn variant.
Yeah,
Like what happened and how bad is a geek fight? I've seen a lot of the kids there and a lot of guys there. I'm like,
right,
this would
right,
be an easy fight to win.
right. Yeah, I
No, I'm
don't
just
know
kidding.
the
But yeah, well, I don't know
extremeness
the
of it.
story behind that. It's not like the holy pen stabbing of
Right.
like
Someone he
did
stabbed a guy's
McFarlane not
leg.
have enough? Like what's prepare for this? Peach Momoka is super famous. People love her. And she's drawing a Spawn cover and people love Spawn.
Right, right. Yeah, I don't know.
Just a weird story. Like
That's scary.
it is scary. But it's Comic-Con, so it's not like that scary. It's not like a
Right,
fight
right,
broke out at the gun show, you know.
right. Yeah, those
That's
are more contained than a comic book. You never hear about any shenanigans from a gun show or an RV show.
hey,
You figure there'd
want
be
to hear something
something
funny? Here's
either of
something I
those.
noticed. In the past, comic conventions sometimes get a good rank to them. Like some of the fans are just, I mean, you're hauling around boxes and bags, and
Mhm.
they're not maybe properly washed, or maybe they're staying there in New York, so it's always kind of had a reek to it, especially in crowds. But a lot of times, I noticed this Friday was a lot of people were over perfumed. Like everyone, I guess,
Oh
loves
wow,
their body sprays or
Axe. It's Axe body
the,
spray time.
the Dr. Squatch soap. Like people love buying their
I
special
have that.
soap
I actually
now.
have that. So yeah.
It's a good soap, honestly. But I definitely felt like people are more aware of that situation now.
Hmm.
So I'm like, good. A lot of people. It's a better thing for conventions. I'd rather smell spice and flowers than rank dudes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I
All
think
right.
that's it for news. I don't think
What
there's
did
anything else.
now? What did you read this week? I have a couple reviews. What was your major read this week? Do you think? Did you read it? I mean, again, you were going to
You know
Comic
what?
Con.
No, because I didn't get a chance to go to the store because of Comic Con. And the one book I wanted to read was Local Man 25
Oh,
because they
right,
did
right, right, right.
Images of Tomorrow, which is a hilarious story where you know Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld they were around like issue 10 and 11 of their comics, and they're like, here we're going to do this comic set in the year in the future. Here's issue 25 of Bloodstrike, of Brigade, of Stormwatch and
Stormwatch.
Supreme.
Yep, I have Stormwatch.
Well, only Stormwatch actually followed through. So when you got to 24, 25 was that story.
Oh, no other book actually filled in the gaps.
Bloodstrike got canceled at 22 and then relaunched as Bloodstrike Assassin.
Right, which was
Bloodstrike,
23.
what was that?
What was Brutalist? Is that technically?
Well, yeah, to jump ahead, when Michel Fiffe took over Bloodstrike, he did a Bloodstrike miniseries for Liefeld, which is phenomenal. Michel Fiffe, who is also ending Copra, his comic, but he did Bloodstrike Brutalist, and it was like, here's Bloodstrike 0, 23, and 24. So it's there to fill in the gap, but simultaneously tell different stories of Brigade in the beginning, the middle, and the end. It's a really smart book, and if you really know your Extreme and Image history, he did all the homework. That book is really good, and the art's phenomenal. You know, we love that.
Fun. Yeah.
I hate to diminish him by saying it's a kayfabe style, because you and I have such an appreciation for the styles of Pisker, Ed Pisker, Jim Rugg, Tom Scioli, and Michel Fiffe.
Right.
You know, it's an independent style that just works with Image Comics, especially. So he kind of finished up the Bloodstrike. Brigade got to issue 22, but I think it was and then we just never got 23 and 24. Funny thing about Brigade, when he put out Brigade 25 early, they actually had the idea to make Bloodstrike 2 comics a month, and he was going to set a Brigade. He was going to set a Brigade story in the future. Like he was going to do Brigade 26, Brigade 27, along with doing Brigade 12, 13, 14. So he was going to run the future storyline and the past storyline at the same time. And that actually would have been pretty awesome, because the future storyline was like Battlestone's in charge of a Youngblood, and they go and kill half the members of Brigade in Brigade 25. So it's actually a really good story. And then to top it off, Supreme, this is the biggest cop out. Supreme 25 was a story where Supreme's got his powers back, and he's fighting like an evil Supreme who's from the Valiant Deathmate crossover. I'm like, oh, this would be such a cool story. But when they get to it, Extreme had done Extreme Sacrifice, and they killed off half a Brigade a different way. So that's maybe why they didn't finish the Brigade story. And the Supreme story was totally different. They killed him, brought in a brand new Supreme. So when the end of Supreme 24 is, he doesn't have his memory. And a kid's like, you're Supreme, here's your comic book. And that comic is Supreme 25. Like, so that's Supreme 26 is like, oh, wow, that doesn't feel like me at all.
They copped it out. Yeah, I mean, it's a bad, I mean, it's a cool idea to initially, but then you're writing yourself into that corner to like make, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not that, it's kind of bad. It's kind of bad storytelling unless you're really planned out. And those guys at the time just weren't, it wasn't really a thing that they were that planned out. I mean, half of those books didn't get to 25. So how many 25s were there?
4.
And you said that only one got there.
Only one got there, and got to that story
in the continuity.
Yeah,
right, and left the continuity.
Yeah.
So Stormwatch left the continuity. Stormwatch pushed to that and left it.
Yes.
And that was probably from like Dunbier, Jeff Marowet, you know.
Yeah, whoever the editors were at Wildstorm.
Right. They kept that going. Okay. All right. So you read no comics?
When you got to that 25, you didn't really care. They're like, oh, cool, they got to that story. And it's just like, you didn't care.
Yeah, rest in peace, Scott Clark. That was a Scott Clark issue.
Yeah, he launched that book, and he was great.
Yeah.
They did it's funny. I think Wizard had a Stormwatch 23 and a half, and it was drawn by Renato Arlem, who was another one of the Glass House Studio guys, who a lot of them copied a lot of stuff from Age of Apocalypse Alpha, the Joe Madureira cover, Roger Cruz inside. They copied from that, but Roger Cruz had copied some of that artwork from Joe Madureira's issue of Vanguard number 3 for Eric Larson.
Oh wow!
So
it's a full circle.
that was that Vanguard issue was a strong source material for a lot of those Glass House Studio guys. And Renato Arlem, when you see his modern artwork, it's beautiful.
Yeah, all those guys pushed past and became something else,
Even Diodato, who was, where some of them, Ed Benes and such, had to copy him, he became a different artist.
Right.
Especially with facial likenesses. Like, he really got into the drawing facial likenesses.
Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah.
No,
he likes the lines. Yeah, it was a weird pick. I struggled the first couple issues of the new Flash run because it was Diodato Sainsbury writing it, and the concepts are really good, but I'm just like, he's not that kinetic of an artist. So I need my favorite Flash artist. I think Scott Collins would probably be my favorite nostalgia wise, but I think like Carmine Di Domenico I think was my favorite because it felt just
I thought
All
you were
the
going to say Carmine Infantino. I'm like, well, that's a strong
so
choice, Mark.
right. What a hot take. Carmine Infantino as a but hot take on that. Carmine did. Oh my God, I don't know, probably 100 or more issues of Flash. But no, and to me that was the right. That was a Jim Lee. Was that the Jim Lee Flash um, reimagining of the costume? Right? Is that Jim Lee costume? Has too
Yes.
many lines.
Yep.
So it has too many lines if you slow, but it's the Flash. So if you draw it the right way, like you can't really see all of it. You know what I mean? Like so I just like that. I thought that was good. So you read on reviews still. So you read zero comics this week. Read nothing.
Zero new comics.
Zero new
I
comics.
decided to go through the endeavor. We talked about it last week briefly of reading Irredeemable and Incorruptible, the Mark
Oh yeah.
Waid Boom comics. So as of this morning, I literally have one issue of each to read. So I can't even be like, and they ended it great. Well,
Right.
penultimately, it's been solid. But
Penultimate.
what
I'm
happened
excited.
was I just wanted to read Irredeemable first. But you get up to issue 25 and it's like, now we're crossing over with Incorruptible. I'm like, well, I'm hardcore, so let me go read all 25
Go
issues of
back.
Incorruptible,
Right.
which is good. In fact, I almost kind of, even though I'm such a Superman mark, like I love Superman archetypes. And maybe I enjoyed Incorruptible more.
Hmm.
You know, Irredeemable is a Superman that goes evil, and Incorruptible is a villain that kind of decides to become good because Irredeemable is evil.
Okay.
So they're solid books. I don't know if you can get them easily. I don't know if they're on Comixology or the Boom website.
I
Like,
don't
it's an
know.
interesting question. Like, you know, I like to tell people where to get it because finding packages is hard. You know,
Right.
it's funny. Earlier we were talking about the ease of finding a bunch of comics for Atlas, and then the last couple were really hard. Well,
Hmm.
there was a comic book store near us called Rainbow Comics in the 80s and 90s, and he had 3 for $1 bins. They were famous for it. Like everyone would go there and look through his 3 for $1 bins for comics.
Three for
And I
$1.
got like every issue of Miracle Man in the early 90s there, except for issue 15 and 24. And it took me like 10 years to find them because they weren't hot yet,
Hmm.
but they were just really hard to find. Issue 15 is the infamous Miracle Man, Kid Miracle Man fight, and issue 24 is Neil Gaiman's last issue before they ceased publication.
Right.
And I came
Probably
across
didn't have a good print run.
there was a guy named Fred Marcus owned a comic store, Time Lost and Found, and he's old school in New Jersey. Like he's been working in comics since like owning stores since like the 70s, like
Yeah,
since
he worked
they
at Fat
started.
Jacks, and he worked on some of the convention scene in there
He,
because I have a convention book over there from Philly that he like edited, like, and
he, he started a company to do like prints, like
yeah, that's right, right, yep.
in the 70s, like and they're again no research. Sorry, everyone, can't tell you the names. I feel like it was like not Bernie Wrightson. Did he do a Bernie Wrightson print set?
It might have been like Jeff Jones, and it was at the same studio, I
It was
believe.
the
I
same
don't think he did
studio.
an official Bernie Wrightson, Barry Windsor Smith, but yeah, I was
So
thinking
Fred
that name.
Marcus, famous in South Jersey, and like you said, he started in Fat Jacks in Philly, and then opened up the Fat Jacks comic crypt in New Jersey, in southern New Jersey.
Yeah, and I guess the lore is the car that he had, the sport car that he got for trading something. It was like trading the first Flash or something like that. He traded
Yeah,
something. That's his car. I think he's famous for going in his store and the music choices. The loud Enya was always a big one. It was loud. It was loud, too loud. And it was
right.
like, I don't want to shop in here anymore. I'm exhausted. Like
He,
it was a weird. It's a
I
weird. And
remember
he's still around. He's over
he's
in Audubon. Audubon.
Audubon,
Yeah.
Haddon Heights area. These are
Yeah.
towns in South Jersey that nobody cares about.
He had a
I
big
went in there
sign that
when
he said it was a no browsing sign. If you go in there now, I took a picture of it, and I think I might have sent it to you. He has a big no browsing.
he
So come on in, but don't stay here.
he liked
Cool.
to let's just shit on Fred Marcus for a while. No, I'm kidding. He liked
Kinda.
to like when you bag and board your comics rather than tape them shut, he would cut off the flap. So
Yes.
all his comics were bags and boarded, but they were open.
Right.
Like it
Which
was the
isn't
weirdest
always
way to
good
look through.
for
So
really old books. Yeah.
the point of the story is I went to him, I said, hey, do you have a Miracle Man 15 and 24? And he walked into his back room and he sold them to me for cover price. He found them.
In his
They
house.
were from his personal collection. He goes, but I'll never get around to reading it. I'm like, all right, you're not going to get around to reading a 20-year-old comic at that point,
Mhm.
written by Alan Moore. The
That's finite.
That's finite. This is, that's cool. But
Right.
like, yeah, and they weren't valuable. Like I said, they were just rare. And within a
Right. Right.
couple of
Right.
years, when Alan Moore did the ABC line for Wildstorm, Scott Dunbier, they hit and they hit big. And those two issues were the hard ones to find. They were
Mm.
the $150 comics, both of them.
Right. 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 Yeah. Yeah.
And
There's a
now,
lot of stuff. His personal collection, you can only imagine, because I bought some reprints of some romance books, and he brought books out. He brought books out. He's like, "Oh, here's some old Marvel ones," and I was like, "Can I buy these?" He's like, "No, no, no." And I'm like, "Okay." So you go to a store, you'll buy something. He may or may not comment on it. There's usually a dog. He has a dog. There's a lot of commotion because whatever store he has, even the store he lives in, it's now he lives in the store. He lives. There's a little front back of the store. It's basically a residence. So I don't know how he's found two places like this. Actually, I want to say the one that was in Glendora was not
right?
meant to be a actual residence. I don't think that strip mall is zoned residential at all.
Correct.
The place that he's in now is in a building, so I think so.
He didn't live
Maybe.
above Comic Crypt, did he? Because the store Comic Crypt, Fat Jack's
I
Comic
don't
Crypt,
know. Yeah.
actually has an apartment above it. And I
Right.
think Mike, the owner, owned the building.
I think so. Yeah. I
So
don't know
there's
if
a
he
good
still
chance Fred
does.
Marcus lived above there too. He's got
Yeah.
money. He's got a collection. He's also got an ex-wife. I don't know what she took.
Yeah, I don't know. That's yeah.
I'm
But
taking your Jerry Lewis comics.
thinking all the Bob Hope
All the
appearances.
Bob Hopes.
Uh, yeah. So, but he has a kind of a notorious collection. But yeah, he's a odd bird. But but just again, same thing. If you can get him into a story, he'll talk. He'll talk.
Yes.
But it
Oh yeah,
depends
I
on the
love it.
day because sometimes you go in there and I'm like, I want a Fred Marcus experience, and then you may not get that. So, okay, go by. Um, so I read books because I didn't go to New York. I didn't go. I'm just here. So I have two really good books, two like excellent books actually. I haven't been the biggest fan of the Marvel, the X-Men reboot, the From the Ashes, right?
Right.
And the outlier, I think, now is Declan Shalvey is writing and drawing Mystique, which it's weird. I guess Mystique's had a couple series. She had a series with.
Brian gave on most famously.
Right, exactly. But that was kind of the same thing. It was kind of its own, a little bit over to the side. Um, but this basically, which is kind of surprising, we talked about this a couple weeks ago on the phone, I think. I don't think on here.
Definitely not a couple weeks ago on here.
It's a Nick Fury. Yeah, I don't know if it was a couple weeks ago or last week on here. The it's a Nick Fury book a little bit. Like so like Nick Fury Jr. book.
Okay.
But Nick Fury Sr. shows up, which
Cool.
and they even kind of mention they're like, "Are you on the moon?" Like they even kind of mention all the problems with current Nick Fury. Is he on the moon as a watcher? Is that really him? Is he a life model decoy? I don't know.
Right. Right.
And it made me when I'm reading, I'm like, wait a second. And I'm thinking about it. I'm reading, I'm like, okay, all right. And the book was actually, and I love it because it was very disorienting because there's different pieces of the book where you're not talking to the same person. And Maverick shows up, spoilers. And then all of a sudden someone that's there that's on his team
Is he
is
Maverick?
talking. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And yes,
Jim
and
Chung. Jim Chung drew his comic
yeah,
back
yeah, yeah.
pre cross gen.
But
He
whatever
doesn't
was
like it.
going on in this, I don't. There's a couple times where you're not sure who you're talking to. Where some agents that are walking with Maverick, they're like, "You're not talking like Maverick." Oh, well, that's not my name. And then later it goes to actual Maverick, and then Maverick's talking back to her. It's Mystique, and then she turns into Wolverine for a second. Like it's crazy. They have a whole. I think it's almost 5 characters in a double spread, right? But then it kind of flashes to this whole storyline with like Nick Fury Jr. And I'm like, I'm looking at it. I'm like, I remember something like this, and I'm trying to think. I'm like, did Declan Shalvey work on Black Widow? And I'm like, no. I look it up. I'm like, no, that's not correct. And I had to think about it. I said, wait a second. And so there was actually a Civil War II. Civil War II didn't do that well. No one really cares.
Right. Yeah.
And that Civil War wasn't Captain America, Iron Man. It was Iron Man, Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. No one
Right.
cares. I don't remember what the conflict was. It was a cash grab. It was Bendis writing,
War
not
Machine
Mallory.
got killed temporarily by Thanos.
I couldn't tell you. You give me $1 million, I couldn't tell you. That just is gone out of my brain. because I didn't care about it. But there was a mini series. It was 6 issues, and I thought it was 4 or 5. And then I kept checking out. So I went on the Marvel app last night and I looked up Declan Shalvey, and I'm looking through. And he did a bunch of Dark Avengers comics. He did a bunch of Venom comics. Did Agent Venom. He did the uh,
Right.
which Flash Thompson Venom. You know,
Mhm.
um, and then I found it. So it was Civil War II, Choosing Sides. It was an anthology book. It was 3 stories a book, and it was 6 issues, and it
Right.
was a Nick Fury Jr. book, and Nick Fury Sr. shows up. And I wish that and I know there's no way they could print this book now. Zero. There's no way that they could make their storyline, the storyline of Nick Fury here kind of started there. It's 2016. You know what I mean? So, but if you read it, and it's Declan Shalvey writing and drawing, but the 4th issue was a silent issue. The fourth, and it was maybe 10 pages, and it's Nick Fury and Black Widow running around, and I'm like, oh, and this is Black Widow right around the time where you had the Phil Noto series, which was excellent, and then
Right.
you
Right.
had the SAMNEE series. So you had two really
The Mark
great,
Waid Tommy.
yeah, and I want to say there was there a Mitch Gerrits in there somewhere, or that was the Punisher series that he did? But right around that time, they had these really good, solid character study series, right, if you can say that. If they did Mystique Zero, which would make any sense because Mystique's not in this entire thing at all, but it
I didn't know.
basically is Mystique Zero. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, is maybe that Nick Fury, because Nick Fury Senior shows up twice in that, and one of them time he knows it's not him, he beats him up. Nick Fury Jr., and then it's a LMD. It's a robot. So life model decoy. But I went back and reread that. So not only did I really enjoy Mystique #1, I had a really kind of, again, same thing, disorienting, did fall into that nostalgia. Really good lighting effect, and it's weird. Matt Hollingsworth colored this. It's a very hand-picked team. So
Beautiful.
it's Declan Shalvey. Now Declan Shalvey's wife is Jordi Belair. So, but he chose
Really?
to not use her. Yeah, he didn't. He used her on the book when I went back, the Civil War II, the 2016. She colored all that stuff, and that was Joe Caramagna, virtual calligraphy over there. Here is Clayton Cowles, um, and the lettering styles. I don't know if it was his lettering, or it's a slightly different lettering style than the other Marvel books. But
Is she? You
it's
think
just
is she
wonderful.
Scottish like Kim? He's Scottish, right?
Yeah, they
Declan
live
Shalvey?
together. Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess their husband live together, but they live over there. Yeah, they live. What I meant by that, they live over there. They don't
Is
live
she
here.
from there? I've never heard an interview
I
with her. We've
don't
been,
know.
isn't it funny? We've been fans of hers for so long.
I remember arguing. I remember having trouble with her because she started coloring Tom Strong, as Tom
Right.
Strong
I
later mini
remember you
series,
not
and I
loving
was
the
like, "There's a
oranges.
bunch of
Yeah.
oranges. I don't like this. I don't want it. I didn't want it." And then I became like a much bigger fan of hers later.
Right. Right.
But yeah, this is a very curated, great issue 1, the best out of the series. And again, I checked out of. I tried to read Dazzler. I don't know. I tried to read some of the other offerings, but I only and I didn't read Uncanny. I think Uncanny came out this week, but I didn't read that. But I wanted to read this because I really wanted to see what Declan Shalvey was doing.
Yeah. I enjoy his Thundercats run. Um, the only problem with his Thundercats run is it came out after Transformers.
Hmm.
So we got a hardcore Transformers comic, and then his Thundercats seems a little lighter by comparison.
Hmm.
Um, but it's still a good comic. I still like his Thundercats, and I do look forward to reading Mystique. It looks good. Um, it's funny. Did his wife not draw it because it's not going to be a big seller as whatever she's working on currently, or because he didn't like take the trash out?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not
Like,
sure what the inner workings are, or
yeah,
maybe there's disagreements. Like, hey, you didn't do that right, But
yeah.
that kind of goes back to like husband, because I want to say that Gina Going is Tom Rainey's wife. Um, so it kind of goes back. I don't know if you knew that.
I don't know. Tom Rainey's interesting. Like, we just do this. You say one thing, I'm like, oh, by the way,
It goes 6 deep. Yeah,
I wonder if
we'll
Tom
get back to it.
Rainey, like, he worked at Image Comics, but how early you think they ever went to him to like, hey, do you want to come with us? Or within that first year, like he ended up doing stuff for Wildstorm. He did Stormwatch and Wildcats Year 1 with James Robinson.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But then he, of course, incredibly drew Warren Ellis' Stormwatch run, which is just
Right.
great.
Right. Right.
Warren Ellis gives him a lot of props for that too. He kept drawing Henry Bendix, creepier and creepier. I kept writing him creepier and creepier. But Tom Rainey, like really, like when the Image guys first started leaving, he started doing pinups, and then he drew a couple of issues of Uncanny X-Men.
Hmm.
We're like, oh, this guy's a really good Image era style artist. And I was surprised like somebody didn't try to get him sooner.
Yeah, he did a Batman Shadow of the Dark Knight, Shadow of the Bat annual, which is really good, really
his,
cool.
his Thor run is phenomenal. He drew Thor with that when Dan Jurgens was writing it, and the
I
dude looked like
yeah
Thor. Now you see pictures of me like, oh, that long blonde hair and a beard. They're like, oh, the dude
yeah
kind of a
I
big
love,
guy.
and there was different costumes. He did so many different costumes at that time too, and I remember talking about that and saying like, it's like I want to go in Thor's closet because he
Yeah,
had like
yeah.
what I mean, like there was so many different costumes he made at that time, but he had the
That's
big
funny.
headpiece,
If
the
he was in the
huge
Spawn
headpiece.
Peach Momoka fight, I keep messing up her name today.
Momoko.
Momoka. Yeah, he'd be like, he would definitely get a Spawn cover. He'd get that
Right,
cover.
right,
Like,
right,
I'm
right.
coming through.
I'm coming through. Um,
That
but
dude a
yeah,
big
so
hammer.
I just yeah, but so I don't know how did we get from that? Oh, it was colorist. It was colorist. Take the trash
Yeah,
out.
you were
Right,
talking
right.
about. Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm excited for Declan Shalvey, and that's what I think I even talked about Old Man last week, where I tried to read an Old Man one shot, but I feel like I should go back and read Old Man in the mindset that he probably wanted to do more Nick Fury Senior, and they're like, no. He's like, all right, I'll go to Image and write Old Man, which is
Listen,
like a Nick Fury-ish kind of
I
character.
I love that. There's nothing more fun to me than someone going, "Oh, I pitched this tomorrow with DC. They turned me down.
I'll go do
Here's
it
my
right,
own comic."
right, right.
What's
And
cooler
that's
than
fine.
that?
That's fine. Now in the same, it's kind of weird. It's in the same timeline. So the DC book that I read this week, that I don't know which one's better. Okay, the Batman and Robin year one, and that was SAMNEE, who again, I made me think of that, and that was also 2016ish, 2017 time when he did that with Mark Waid. So same team as Black Widow back then, which I think that IDW did like a artist edition because I think he has all of it. I believe he has all the original art of it. So a lot of it was probably reprinted in that in whatever like artist edition. So there's a Chris Samnee artist edition. But back then
What did they
I
do together? They
remember
did
they did Black
Wade and
Widow
Somni did
and then
Daredevil,
Cap.
like in
Yep,
Cap. Yeah, that was right.
and then
Cap.
Cap.
Wade's big return to Cap.
But I think that Black Widow is when I think in either one of the two, and I don't know the chronology of what I think Cap was the last, but
Yeah,
and but I want to say that when he was doing either this or Daredevil, where Wade talked about in interviews, like I don't want to, I'm not going to write over this. So he kind of gave him more like storytelling credit. So that's the way this is too. It's like plot, and then it says script by. So it says like by Mark Waid and Chris Samnee. Now this is I thought it was going to be Matt Hollingsworth on colors there, or Dave Stewart or something like that. It or Matt Wilson who did Black Widow, but it's someone new as Matthias Lopez, and I only want to credit that because of the colors on this also were different than Firepower, and I don't remember who did Firepower, but Somni's been off the board for a little while because he did Firepower for 3 years, 4 years, which is complete, and I got through like 3 trades of that. I have to finish that,
yeah.
but
You
there's
should finish that.
something.
I really enjoyed Firepower.
Yeah, there's something about like there's some magic. There's definitely a magic of the Wade Somni stuff, and the Robin is very tricky. So doing like a Robin, this is kind of like a Robin year one is really tricky because you have to have him like, and again, you meet Commissioner Gordon on the rooftop, and he's like, "What are you doing with this kid? He's gonna die." Like literally, Commissioner Gordon's like, "I have concerns. Hello, I have concerns." So I think it's pretty cool. And then I guess early on, I don't even know if this kind of became through because it was either was in Batman year three where they kind of retold a two a Two-Face story, right? And that was Pat Broderick. Might have been Mensch. I'm not sure if that was. I don't remember who did that, but that Dick Grayson is
Just
tied.
checking. It was Matt Wilson for Firepower, at
Okay,
least in the beginning.
okay. So he didn't bring him over. Interesting. So, but that's fine. So yeah, so he brought him over there, but it didn't bring him here. But I felt like this is closer to the colors, which I think I'm pretty sure Hollingsworth did the Daredevil run. I'm pretty sure Hollingsworth did the Black Widow run. But I want it to, yeah, there's something about the Two-Face, the connection of the Dick Grayson Robin Two-Face. And there's something about the costumes, and he's doing the cape a little different. He's doing the Robin cape a little different. So it's cool. The most recent, and again, it was World's Finest. This exists essentially because of World's Finest. World's Finest.
Right.
This should be titled like kind of like that Teen Titans series they put out, which was titled World's Finest Teen Titans. This should be titled World's Finest Batman and Robin year one. Maybe too many colons, but I don't know. They love colons. They love the one, two,
Yep.
three, four, five.
Especially Gene.
Like what's the Long Halloween, right? So they retitled all the Long Halloweens, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So they're like
The
Batman
branding.
and the
Art.
Long
It's called brand.
Halloween.
It's a
Yeah, the
brand.
branding, they pushed it all up. So now it's like the Long Halloween, the last Halloween, colon, 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 colon.
Yeah.
But yeah, just really wonderful. The Two Face is very frightening in this. I like Batman in this because Batman has trouble because Two Face is doing something and it's wrong. He's like, it's not, there's no like duality of it. He's like, well, hold on. He's like, wait, he's doing that subconsciously. Harvey's trying to push through. He's doing it wrong. He's doing his Two-Face crime wrong. So he's literally yelling at Two-Face to say, hey man, you're doing it wrong.
That's funny.
And then Robin's like, what are you
That's really
talking
funny to
about?
do
Like,
that.
yeah, like Robin's like, what is this? I don't know what I'm doing. And Robin again is what that's doesn't know he's a kid. So it's actually interesting being a parent. Robin's doing things. They're testing. I'm going to test. I'm going to push. I'm going to jump a little ahead of you, Batman. He's like, don't do that. Like he's like, so it's like he's his parent. So, yeah, that's wonderful. I want to say that's 6 issues. I'm not sure exactly how many issues that is, but that's number 2. And then my third review, Flash Gordon 3, which I thought Jeremy Adams, great job again. God, these resurgences. We'll have to go into like resurgences and like in a whole other episode, but same thing. Lee Lowridge, keeping it in coloring. Lee Lowridge is coloring Will Conrad. Will Conrad's done a ton of books, but this is so good looking. This is a wonderful looking book. The first 10 pages, not spoiling anything, is the
You better
origin of
not.
Ming, which I thought was going to be the entire issue, and I'm happy that I was just thinking about page construction and I counted it afterwards. It's 22 pages because Marvel and DC are now 20s. They're all 20s, right? Is that right? Still.
Yeah.
So they went from 22 to 20 a couple years ago. Mad Cave's giving us 22. Thank you. And it
Well,
just
Marvel DC's. I think they're a little loose
flows.
about it. Like
Yeah,
I think Liefeld wanted to come in at like 23 on an issue with Deadpool team up, and Marvel's like, no, you got to keep it at 22 or something like ridiculous. So they will give certain writers and artists leeway
a little
if
bit
that
leeway.
book
Yeah,
makes money. But if the book doesn't make money, it's a hard 20.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just don't know. Like to me, they did a 10-page origin. I went back and looked at it. 10-page origin, which I thought it was going to be one of those things where it's like, okay, it's kind of like a film, but it's issue 3. So are you going to do a whole Ming issue? Because as I was in page 4, page 5, and I'm like, oh boy, I was a little nervous. You know what I mean? Because I want to see Flash Gordon. I want to see my guy. And then they have 10 pages of action, and then they have 2 pages of cliffhanger. Thank you. Like just it's just perfect. It's a perfect serial comic book. It's a perfect Flash Gordon concept.
Has there ever been a successful Flash Gordon comic book?
Uh, Not exactly. Well, because the publication rights kept going and moving, right? So it would go from Charlton to Whitman to like it just keeps moving to Archie. I think at one
We
point
know
it just keeps going.
as a
The
comic
best
strip,
one,
it's
Dark Horse
unbeatable.
reprinted all of them. Like recently, they reprinted all of them. But because it went from, I think they did what they did. Some of the early ones. I might have been Whitman or Gold Key. They would just take chunks and put them on a page, and it was horrible. Look, it's terrible. It's terrible. But they took Alex Raymond stuff, and then they would just move it around. And I
Yeah.
haven't seen Mad Cave's reprints of like they're like a magazine. They're almost like a widescreen format. I haven't seen that yet. But then and I have some issues. I have some Pat Boyette issues, which are wonderful. They're beautiful. And that's when and then they got canceled off. He was working for Charlton, so there's some Charlton run right there in core 74, I think. And then it went over to someone else, and then I think Whitman had it, and then Al Williamson drew. This is kind of the lost adaptation, right? Because Al Williamson didn't do the first Star Wars, but he did Return. He did Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, uh, as Return of the Jedi, pulling out as its own series. In Flash Gordon, the movie, it's literally like it's if you look inside of it, it's Flash Gordon the movie 1, 2, 3. They're all photo collage covers, terrible, terrible. And there is a version of it that you can buy that was like almost like a Walden Books version where it has a movie poster, but Al Williamson drew the movie poster. So I need to find that. It's a hardcover. I don't think it's expensive. I should eBay that and buy it. But there's a 3-issue movie adaptation by Al Williamson. I don't even think there's even credits on it. I think it's just Al Williamson doing the whole thing, adapting the movie, and it looks awesome. Like it looks amazing. So it's kind of the secret. I didn't know about that. But
Who's
yeah,
done it
there's no,
recently?
you know,
Dynamite had it, right? Dynamite, did Dynamite have it? Because they had a King Features
yeah.
deal. Who was the company that did it 15 years ago?
Um, mm.
I remember really getting excited about it, and then I read it. I'm like, like
Yeah,
this
Dynamite was
sci-fi.
good though because they had
Sci-fi did
what's his
that
name?
bad take on it post
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Battlestar. It was like this is
yeah.
rough.
I like Dynamite's one. Yeah, Dynamite, but they had because they had the King's Watch and they had like all that stuff. I
Yeah,
think all that stuff really worked
Day of the
there.
Opera, Mandrake. You
Yeah,
know,
I think all that stuff working. Now
all
it's
of
we're getting Defenders of the Earth,
all of the
Defenders
Defenders.
of the Earth, Defenders. So-
Um, it's funny. I discovered Flash Gordon through the Filmation cartoon. That's the first thing I
Mhm.
saw, and I thought it was the most amazing cartoon. Because to
Good,
me,
yeah.
my world was at that point Super
Mhm.
Friends, and that Flash Gordon cartoon. But I didn't know that Flash Gordon cartoon was already a couple years old at that point. And then when I got into Black Star, it was a similar thing. It's like a human going to an alien
Right,
world.
right,
Like,
right,
oh,
right.
it's the same thing. But then Black Star didn't really hit. And then we got He-Man by Filmation. Black Star was Filmation, now He-Man from Filmation,
Right.
which is here's a twist.
Black
His
Star was space
mom,
western.
his
Right.
mom goes to the alien world, and He-Man's the kid of the mom and the king.
Okay.
So it's still Flash Gordon, but it's a generational down. And
Okay.
which, so it's funny. Like my love of He-Man, Master Universe, is because Flash Gordon was so good. But like it's funny with the Flash Gordon because then I saw the movie and I'm like, oh, this sucks compared to the cartoon. Like I didn't like
Right.
the movie because I
Yeah,
thought
I
the
saw the
cartoon was so
movie
good.
on Channel 17, PHL 17, and it was just dangerous. And it was scary because the scene that grossed me out is when he's fighting uh, the Timothy Dalton. He's fighting James Bond, um, and they're on the moving platform. That when it moves, the spikes come up, and it was, and back then things were scary. Temple of Doom, I think I probably saw that when I
Yeah,
may have saw that Temple of Doom is very dark, and I saw
we,
it
we didn't
when I was
realize the
I was
heroes always
7.
live.
Yeah, it was scary. So that was also frightening, with all the spiders and just like there's danger. People are gonna die. There's gonna be blood.
Yep.
It's
You
gonna
know
be
what else is
scary. So
scary?
this was the same that. So
Flash Gordon. Yeah,
no,
I
I
never
know that
watched
was a big.
West Coast Video, which was the old video store franchise in South Jersey. I don't know how big West Coast Video was, but they always had a thing for Flash Gordon 2. I'm like, I've never seen Flash Gordon 1. I can't watch this.
I can't. I
Also,
have
they
to
would
go.
not
Even back then,
probably.
you're like, I can't watch. I need to watch the first one. I'll be
I need.
lost.
I need to know where this hero story begins.
I'll be lost on this porno takeoff. Yeah,
This
I don't know
this
what's gonna happen.
this Skinamax. I'm sure it wasn't even like that. I mean, if I could see the videotape in West Coast Video, it wasn't like that bad. Probably
Right,
just
right,
some
right,
boobs.
right. It was out. It wasn't behind the doors or the
Although now I'm
beams.
curious if there is like a triple X version. I'm not seeking it out. It's just
I think
funny to
that's what
think
you're doing
like
right now. That's why you're looking over there.
I'm,
I think that's what you're doing right now. Um, yeah. So, so yesterday I wasn't really sure what to do. So you have any reviews besides the corruptible, and you already did
no, because
any other thing?
you're
You did
talking
too
like
many things.
50 plus comics.
Right, right, right,
So it's like
right. Yeah. Well, I guess
there's a lot.
we'll have it on week 3, and then you could say like how it ended to see if it stuck the landing.
Yeah,
Um,
I will circle back around to Local Man. So hopefully, you can catch up on. I don't know if you were even behind on Local Man.
no, I'm current on Local Man, and yeah, we should have a funeral episode for Local Man, and maybe
Yeah,
just
funny,
hope for more. I do think
funny
that
story.
it's kind of nuts that they got like a death mate special, right? Like they
Yeah,
kind of had a couple specials
he,
that are very similar in
yeah.
image
The Bad Girl
continuity.
special,
Right,
the
right.
Deathmate special.
And then now you have Images of Tomorrow. Like,
Yes,
okay, cool, great
funny
job.
story.
They had a lot of variants too. They had like a Valentino variant. They
Oh
had
yeah, they went
Mustachio
right after the
variant.
original Chance Wolf, the awesome.
Yeah.
Rob Michaels did the variant for Images of Tomorrow.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. There you go.
So
There you
I'm
go.
surprised they didn't go after get a Dan Fraga. They should have got a Dan Fraga cover. Fraga boom.
Fragger Boom, Couch Doodles on Instagram. Yeah, I watch them all the time.
So when I first saw an article for Local Man, before I knew, because I like Tim Seeley stuff, like I saw it and then I forgot about it, and then somebody brought it up, and for some reason I thought it was like Florida Man, and in my head I changed the story to be about like this guy from Florida, who you always see the news articles, Florida Man wrestles alligator high on meth,
Right, right, right.
and my brain changed it, or maybe I saw another article,
Oh, wow.
and I'm like, oh, it's about comics in the 90s. I get it. That's a cool premise.
Yeah.
Actually, God, I hate doing this stuff. Milligan, our friend Brian Milligan, in the 90s had his own comic called SWAT Team Exodus. And it's just so like he penciled a full issue. It's really awesome. I want to publish it one day because it's just so straight up 90s. And for years, I'm like, I think it was like, if he drew it in 94, I think 2004, I'm like, you know what I'd love to do? I'd love to Watchmen, your SWAT Team Exodus. And I came up with
Oh, wait.
all these crazy ideas.
You
Oh,
thought
well,
about that, yeah.
there was a 60s version, SWAT Team Genesis, or, since they're Exodus, how would I bring a guy from the past? It's like an anti-Cable. Instead of coming from the future, and we'll call him like Moses. I just totally went to like biblical Exodus, and their superhero headquarters were called the Tabernacle. Like it's just like it would have been really fun. In fact, it's kind of like what Blood Squad 7 did, because I wanted to take these heroes and what happened to them in 10 years since the 90s. But it was like probably too early to do it in 2004. 2014 maybe would have been better. But now it's like, everyone's going back to the 90s, which is fine.
Right.
It's where we started. But
Yeah,
just a
and
funny story.
that's the basis of my collection. Now is I want, I bought stuff that I thought that I wanted. Like I had a Warlord run, right? That I bought. I got a bunch of them, then I bought the balance of them, and then I'm like, I'm not nostalgic because I didn't have it when I was a kid. You know what I mean? So now I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get the first. I'm gonna get
That's a
just this
that's a
pocket
fun
of.
read though. I love Warlord.
Yeah, it goes through a lot of. What's funny is that it gets more and more serious. And Warlord's going to be in. I'm trying to think. Is it Teen Titans? Warlord's coming back to something soon. No, it's Green Arrow. Warlord's going to be in Green Arrow.
That
Uh,
makes sense.
Josh Williamson is leaving Green Arrow. Someone else is in there now. So I gotta get back on that because I kind of dropped off a little bit of that. Um, but yeah, so this week, moving over to media.
Okay.
Yesterday, I wasn't exactly sure. Uh, I lost, I was losing track of time. I was trying to go see Super Slash Man, the Christopher Reeve documentary, so I can cry in the
Yeah.
theater. But I would have had to run to Cherry Hill, and it would have taken a little too long. And I don't know, just because that theater in Cherry Hill, the AMC, is terribly staffed all the time. And if you want any food, you can't get food. Like it takes forever. So when I was there and they ran Run Lola Run and we went to go see that, we I missed the beginning of it because it took forever for them to make my whatever I was getting. I think chicken fingers. So it took forever. It takes forever. So if it's at all
A
crowded,
movie theater chicken fingers good. I've never.
no, it doesn't matter. If I need, it doesn't matter because I need protein, and if not, I turn into a worse version of myself. So turn into the Hulk. So,
I turn
and it
on the
was
Hulk, but I get weaker.
I was 10 minutes from I'm 10 minutes from the AMC here, but no one's ever here. The old Ritz in Voorhees, so no one's ever there because
Right.
the Cinemark's right over here. The Cinemark's a half a mile
Cinemark
away.
is our preferred group's movie theater.
Right. So I went to go see Joker. Oh boy, like I don't know, like
How do you know? How do you know you saw it?
yeah,
Where
I
to
saw it
start?
last night by myself. I went to go see it, and I just was like, all right, let me just take this in. Let me see. And I liked one part of it, just one part of it, and I'm surprised. I can't believe how bad it is. I can't believe that this is so blank check. This is so blank, and it's also the funny behind the scenes stuff is that technically James Gunn can promote this, but he didn't promote this. And I found out a couple things this week that he didn't want the DC logo on this. There's not a DC logo on, not the new DC logo. I don't even know if there's a DC logo on it at all. I don't think so. I don't even think it says. I don't even. I'm not sure.
Oh,
I think it just says Batman fully ado, and then it goes into the movie. I don't think it goes into like who directed what. I don't think it does any of that stuff. So, and I know I've been mega negative on this week. So my last review is very positive. Just want to be clear.
okay.
I like the cartoon in the front. Cool.
Yes.
Not. It didn't lean heavy enough into the Looney Tunes art style. To me, it felt more Tex Avery art style.
It's it started off really good, but it didn't fulfill the promise of what a
It
cartoon
lost
should be.
focus throughout it. Correct.
Yeah.
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 It went to like when it was separate, and then it was like, I don't know. I understood it, but I don't know. It was okay, but to me that was still very good. I still think that's a very good concept. Um, I don't understand why you make a movie of a trial What's the trial? It's it's on television.
Whether or not he's insane.
That's not, I don't know.
That's not a
No,
real
like
trial.
it's not a real trial. It's not a thing. It's and you can't defend. I don't think you'd be able to defend your. I don't think you can. I can get dressed. I can order clothing. I can order makeup. I can. Okay, I'll be the Joker. And also, can they decide it? Who? Okay, I know Todd Phillips like co-wrote this with Scott Silver, right? But like, decide if his name's Joker or the Joker, right?
Right.
I just don't understand. It's the Joker. He's the Joker. I don't care. Like it doesn't when especially if you're going to refer to him as a like character, you would say the Joker. But they're saying you're who am I talking to, Joker or you?
Didn't Todd
It's
Phillips say, "Oh,
just
I never called him the Joker"? Like it's a weird.
yes. Yes. It's he Todd Phillips wants every out he can. Okay. I don't like this. So and then so there was a story this week, and I don't know if it's true, but at the end of last movie, he wanted to cut the face. I don't know if you heard about this. He wanted to cut his
Yes.
face,
Yeah.
right? And then it went to Nolan, and Nolan said no. So that was when there was some control back and forth.
Okay.
So the rumors, and I don't know if that's completely true or not.
Nolan is correct.
Nolan said no. Yeah,
That's the right
Nolan
move.
said
I think
correct.
that's the right move.
And the thing I didn't like about Joker 1 is the ties to Batman. That's the worst part about it. The worst part
Yeah.
of him potentially being like half brother to Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. Thank God that was
Him
fake.
putting
That
his
was
thumb in Bruce Wayne's mouth. Oh, gross. It's just like everything about that. And even this, you have Harvey Dent, doesn't have to be Harvey Dent. And then, spoilers, you blow up,
Are you spoiling?
sure, why
Do
not?
we?
It's been out, okay?
In a month. Let's talk about it.
And 3 people in the theater, by the way. One group, just me. Me and them, that's it. Middle of a Saturday, no one's there. 0. No one's there. A lot of people for Wild Robot, cool, good. A lot of kids go see that, please. Looks interesting. So I'm in there. I'm just trying to get through it. It's miserable. And then also, you're gonna have Harvey Dent in there. You're gonna have Harvey Dent in there, right? Okay. So you're gonna have an explosion at the end. You're not gonna visibly extra mangle his face. It's a little bit. Just do it.
To let you know that something happened.
Just do it.
Just no.
Just do it. It's not when you look, and actually I don't know about like where the courtroom explosion needs to
Just
be.
do it. You ever see that Ben
Yeah,
Stiller
do it.
sketch where he plays
Yeah,
like that? Just do it.
do it.
Do it.
Do it. If you're going to have, and I don't know where, again, like where the tables are, right? I guess there's plaintiff defendant. I guess that's correct. So you just switch where it is. So you switch the explosion on this side where the jury is. Blow up the jury, right? Fine, that makes more sense. So you're gonna do it over here? No, doesn't make any sense. So it's wrong all the time. The movie's wrong all the time. I can't believe it. I can't believe how wrong it is. Okay, the scene where he maybe gets raped by the do it. I'm not saying
Love it.
yay, but like I'm saying like, and then the next day he's beautiful. He's in a suit. He's made up. It had zero effect on him. Zero effect. You show him like completely despondent on the ground. Something happened. Not sure because they don't really tell you. Whatever. Um, I don't understand. The only person that they call him the Joker, probably because it's Steve Coogan and he's going to do whatever he wants. Alan Partridge. Alan Partridge interviewed him. His name is Paddy, Paddy, whatever. Like every character made no sense. It just didn't make sense. I don't understand. You have Catherine Keener in there basically as like a third lead, right? Basically, she's in there a ton. Um, I don't believe any defense on why she thinks that it's a different person than him. It never came out that it was a different person than him. They have the therapist, which they say was the
No,
same therapist from last movie. Was it? I don't know. It didn't seem like it was. I don't remember.
I didn't rewatch it. I wanted to. There's no time.
It just well, I guess it would have been good because this movie is like literally a defense of the previous film. It's like let me defend everything I did in the last film. I'm Todd Phillips. I'm going to defend every single scene, literally in a courtroom. I'm going to defend this decision of this and this decision of that. And he killed this many people, and then he didn't kill this many people. And what's the betrayal? That he told the jury that I killed my mom, and then Harley Quinn's mad and leaves because that you told me that secret, but now you told everyone that secret. And it's on TV. I just don't understand. And there's so many decisions that are just baffling. So that's where I just feel that this isn't even dumbstruck. I feel like this is like a sabotage. I feel like this is a Todd
Wow.
Phillips like sabotage. I don't understand it. I don't
It feels like
understand it.
a personal hit piece. Like, yeah.
I don't understand it. And the only scene that worked for me was most of the dream sequence is probably the Sonny and Cher bit where they come out, and it probably is. And again, listen, if you're gonna have
They do
and what
perform
costs
that
200
really
million?
well. They do a
What
good
costs
job.
200 million? Yeah, if you're gonna do To Love Somebody by the Bee Gees, if you're gonna cover that, that's one of my favorite songs of all time. If you're gonna cover it, and listen, God, you have Lady Gaga, and this is actually in defense of Lady Gaga in this. She's better as Lady Gaga in this as a different character than she is in A Star Is Born when she has to be a pop star, and she wasn't a pop star. She was a terrible pop star in that. And here's non-pop music that she became famous for. Zero, no, 0.0. So here I'm like in everything, all the songs she's doing, even when she's singing kind of slovenly, she's still one. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, there's really no doubt in the talent of that. There's no doubt that she put herself completely into this thing. She did, I told you last week, she did Graham Norton. She's got she has it literally like in an outfit. She's in almost interviews as Lee, as Harley, as Lee. Come on, man. Like, and why is she out of jail? Oh, then they figured that out. And I'm like, how did she get out? And I don't know. I don't understand like her betrayal. And then, and she wasn't pregnant. Like well, again, it's a female manipulation,
Yeah, yeah.
that's
That's a real
that's
thing.
that's the most believable thing I saw. That's a very believable character there. I marry those women
I
usually.
know someone who did that, and I'm
I
like, that's
marry those
horrible.
women. Yeah,
It's a
I
horrible
usually
thing.
marry them. But
No,
holy
I'm up.
mackerel, I don't. There's so many problems, and so to go back to the Nolan thing, so you're going to still kind of do it. You're still and Todd Phillips, and this is an interview recent. Not I don't know if it was after the first one. He said that he doesn't think that this Joker, like you said, is the Joker,
Right, right.
right? And that someone watching, and I got that from the end of last movie. I liked it, and I remember at a certain point in this movie, I'm like, are they going to cut out a scene where he's running down with lots of Jokers chasing him? Because I thought about three Jokers when I saw that thing. I'm like, man,
Yes,
they're
that's
going to do three
exactly what
Jokers?
I was thinking.
Yeah, they're gonna do multiverse, three Jokers. Okay, fine, cool. That's fine. That's fine. Have Jared Leto show up. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like just do something with it. So I was waiting for that scene, and I thought that scene was really good. I thought the scene of the blow up. I thought him walking outside, pretty long take, getting into a car, taking off. I get it. I get it. I think it works. But I don't think that they did a good job on the crowd outside. The mania. They didn't do a good job of the mania of the Joker following. They did a terrible, terrible job of that. Terrible job of that. But I do like the dream sequences for the most part. I don't understand so many of them. And then there was a scene which is very confusing where the trial's on TV live. They made it a point to say it's live, it's live, it's live, it's live. But then there's a scene where he's watching it with everyone in there. Is he not watching it? And it wasn't like he was singing. Like it just, I don't know. There's so many problems. But they literally, to go back to the Nolan thing, they just do it slightly off camera. So they have a guy who kind of looks, and I remember even thinking he actually looked like God, who was that? Who was that kid?
Dominic Monaghan.
A little bit like that, but he looked like the guy. I think he died. Not Brad Dourif. It was Brad something, but he passed away. He was in Ghost World, I believe. Um, but he was a younger kid, and I think he had some drugs, and then he's gone. But they have a guy, similar-ish looking like a Heath Ledger-ish character kind of in there. They had one guy I thought was the kid from the Holdovers, but it wasn't. They had one kind of younger character that kind of idolized him, kept kind of stirring things up. And they have another guy just kind of off, like just uncomfortable. Okay, and again, we can kind of compare Arkham's in this, right? So Arkham, Penguin episode 3.
Right.
That Arkham is perfect. That Arkham is the guards are kind of watching, right? The
Yeah.
guards aren't these guards are actively letting. So even this, so the last scene spoilers, like basically you have the
The
Heath Ledger
Joker's
tell him a joke,
Arkham seems more like Shawshank. It's like they
Yeah,
went for Shawshank.
it's Alcatraz or something because it's way
Yeah.
out in the island. They keep showing, well, let's
Right.
drive
Right.
out to that
Yeah.
island.
It's
Here we go. Gonna drive on
it's
out
both.
there.
Yeah. Exterior
Oh my god.
Alcatraz. Interior.
Oh my god. I'm so mad about this. Do you know in the scene and the next scene they mention it again? They say in the state of New York, or they say in the city of New York. They say the city of either the state or city of New York. So they say that when they're sentencing him, they say New York.
Oh, big
And I'm
mistake.
like, whoa, wait a second. Like I just was like, and I think they say city of New York. And then like the next scene, they're like
Even
Gotham
worse.
City, da da da. This happened in Gotham City, explosion in Gotham City. And I'm like, Oh my God. Like, I don't know if that was a city or state. I guess if it was state, it would be okay. But I just, because you're not going to say city of New York
It's not okay to say the state, Mark. You know why?
because it's in New
Correct.
Jersey.
Gotham City is in New
Gotham City's in New Jersey. It's like up in Hackensack area, right? So like
Very.
it's not in South
The
Jersey.
role playing game, which I'm not a role play guy, has it set in Vineland, which is a kind of a redneck,
Yeah, it's
the
not down
city, and then like farmland all
there.
around the city.
Yeah. What was it? Cumberland Mall. Yeah, it's not near the Cumberland Mall.
Uh,
No. So but no, my God, I can't believe it. So okay, so this guy tells him a joke, a kind of a good bad joke. All right, I kind of like that.
right.
And then he stabs him a bunch of times. And also, you don't know who's visiting him, right?
Well,
Good.
I immediately said that, but then my friend Walt, our mutual friend Walt, Angry Walt, we call him sometimes.
Angry Wall.
He says,
Frenzy.
"Well, you never watched Oz because that's what they did in Oz. They set someone up like, oh, a visitor's here,
Oh.
and the guard walks away too fast, and then so it's not even like original. Yeah, they're. I mean, you'd like to think somebody's there. You're led to believe it's Harley or someone, like, oh,
Yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah.
there
Yeah.
probably was nobody there. They just wanted him dead, and the guards wanted him dead. Maybe,
I don't know.
maybe
But so what happens? He gets stabbed a bunch of times, pretty brutal. Then he lays down, and then you hear and kind of see him taking the same blade and cutting the sides of his mouth. So you imagine that's going to
the
be,
kid who murdered him.
yeah. And I just was like, you know what? Just get away from this property as quickly as possible, Todd Phillips. Then it closed, directed by Todd Phillips. I'm like, fuck
He
it. I
doesn't.
just was like, I didn't wait. I don't know if there was an after nothing. I don't know. I didn't look it up. I just left. I just
Yeah,
was like,
he
oh my
comes back.
God.
He smiles at the end, like he's dead, and then he comes back and smiles.
Is that really what happens? I
No,
don't know.
not at all.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Again, I just don't know. I just don't know.
Batman shows up and like gives him a little mouth to mouth, helps him out. You know what? I'm glad it's over. Listen, the first Joker movie is an incredible success, and it shows something different and neat. And it's not the Joker we knew and loved, but like I said, I might have said this last week that like no Joker is wrong. Like every Joker you can come up with is good in its own distinct way. Even if you hate it, guess what? That's fine because it's Joker.
Mhm. Yeah.
Until this movie came out, and now I'm like,
Well,
that didn't really satisfy anything.
yeah, because
It could
if
be
I
an origin story that would roll into Nolan's film. It could roll into, but it's not. This ends here. It's not that kid at the end of it is not the new Joker. He's not going to be in. I mean, we have what's the name? It's like his name Barry.
Barry
Who's
Keoghan,
Joker in?
Barry Keoghan, deleted scene, Barry Keoghan Joker, which is odd.
The deleted scene is really weird. Like
Put
he's
the
still at
scene
the
in.
end. He's
Just
still
put
in
it
the
in.
end. He's in the movie. He's in the Pattinson Batman movie briefly, but there's a whole deleted conversation scene between him and
Which is
that's
good.
weird. That's a weird looking Joker. I love him. You
But
love him.
you could
You're a
actually,
big
yes, I think Barry Keoghan is one of the best. Did you see
you're
the
a big
Banshees
murder on a
of?
dance floor scene fan,
I
aren't
am.
you?
That's right, because of the penis. That's right. No, that movie came out at the perfect like space because that movie came out and it was just it streamed at the right time where everyone was available to watch it. The movie just kind of hit at a
It hit the
certain point.
zeitgeist that like everyone saw it.
Everyone saw it.
And
Everyone saw it.
everyone's like, what did I just watch?
See, that's a better Joker too. You could say that's Joker too. Why not? Who cares? Like it's like you could say that is a Joker. Sure. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
You see,
That could be it. He's
you know what?
diabolical.
It's
Um
interesting.
he
It's
is
interesting when
premeditated.
people are jokers in movies that aren't jokers. You
Yeah.
know?
I never watched the You show, but someone said that's a Joker show. I never watched
Okay.
that. Yeah, but sure. I don't care. Listen, I'm not. Look, there's plenty of Batman non-Batman shows. Reacher's a Batman show. Like,
I
you know what I
mean,
mean? Like, there's plenty of.
the Terrifier is a literal Joker movie.
The
That's a
Terrifier
real
made a
Joker.
ton of money. Okay. Here's another thing. So Todd Phillips is this powerful. What makes money for the movie theater? Not the movies. It's the concessions, right?
Correct.
What's been the biggest thing lately? The biggest thing is popcorn buckets.
Yeah.
You're not going to do a Joker or a Harley Quinn popcorn bucket. You couldn't give Cinemark, AMC, eBay fees. You couldn't give Brian Milligan a Harley Quinn head
You're
to
right.
sell
You're
on
right.
eBay.
You don't want to give Milligan a Harley Quinn head.
But why? Well, yeah. But like what? Like why? But there's a Terrifier popcorn bucket.
And that's awesome. Like,
Yes, I agree, but, like, but that comes out 2 weeks after Joker, and that has a popcorn bucket? Like, just please, just I don't know. So Todd Phillips has this hold, and then, James Gunn clearly, didn't want this as a part, says no, and, that's fine, and I agree, and I just 'cause, James Gunn still has to kind of, like, introduce his DC
yes,
universe.
he has
He's
to introduce
still
DC.
right, so it's still not, so yes, I don't know. I will never watch this again. And at least I got. Well, you know what? I really wish I saw Megalopolis in the theater because I have a copy of Megalopolis and I can't get through it. I got through another 20. I turned it off, and I don't know. I don't
I'm
know.
excited to watch that. I hope it's
It's tough, man. I don't know. I want to get through it. I want to feel like it's I want to feel. You know what it feels like? It feels like Holy Terror, right? It feels like Dark Knight
yes,
3. Right, where I'm
Holy
like,
Terror.
it's a chore. I'm reading through it. I'm like, okay, here we go. It's Batman, but they couldn't. DC's like, pass, and then it's literally,
'Cause that was
um,
he talked about that being a Batman book. It's like Batman takes on terrorists, and even back then we're like, should he? Like, at that point,
it's
we'd already kind of we got to stop
we're
doing
over it.
terrorist books. Like terrorists are
Yeah, yeah,
horrible,
yeah,
but like it's really coming off kind of racist now. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you can't keep doubling down. Like I mean, look how embarrassing it is when we see Japanese 1940s comics. It's like, oh, this
Oh,
hurts me to look at.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
I understand the time, and I'll never, you know,
I understand the demonization of that character
well,
or
they were our
that
villains.
yeah,
They
correct,
seemed evil to us.
right, but it
They were the
ages poorly.
Axis. Yes, it was poorly done. And that what sucks is they kept making them look like that for another 30 years of comics.
Right,
Like
right,
they
right, right.
didn't change it. Like, oh, it worked back then. Well, they're not our enemies anymore. And we can't have, a Middle Eastern person still look like a terrorist,
Right, right, right.
you
Yeah, yeah,
know?
yeah.
So yeah, the Batman book came out a little late, and it even took them years to do. And like, we're not. I mean, yeah, we're still. It's not.
Became less and less topical, continue on and on and on.
Yeah, like I understand you were angry in the beginning,
Even
and
he did like a Looney Tunes thing where he had Batman like kind of talk to you. Like he did kind of a Looney Tunes like thing at the end. I'm like, what are you doing? Like it just was it's a problematic Frank Miller.
it's funny because it's another case of what we said earlier. It's like, hey, DC says no after he starts working on it.
Oh, I'll
And
go
then
do
it's
it.
like, all right, my own thing. Let me take all the
Fangraphs did
points.
it.
I feel like
I think
Fangraphs. Yeah.
yeah. So listen, I swore we're trying to differentiate the show to not be a vitriol show, and I just feel like I feel like I was in a real bad mood the majority of the show out of the stuff that I read. Well, no, besides the two comic reviews I had, I
Yeah,
think
comics reviews were
they're
good. The news,
perfect.
we went through the news good.
The news to me is there's nothing like blow me away news. The only thing that got me this week is Friday, you go through your streamers or whatever, right? And I noticed that Anna Kendrick was on a ton of stuff on YouTube this week, right? She was on Pete
Right.
Holmes' show, and I don't know. I saw either a clip or a short trailer for Woman of the Hour, which is on Netflix now. It was written by I don't remember who wrote it, but she directed. It's her first feature film directed, and it was hour 36. And the man, oh man, I love an hour 36, man. Holy crap! I just love under a 2 hour. The
Yeah.
220s are just so tired for me. I don't have enough time, so I don't feel like I'm doing a super investment, but I feel like I don't know how long Substance was. I think Substance was close to 2. That could have been an hour 36. You could have had a little bit less of Substance, the Demi Moore movie. But this was excellent, dude. This was excellent. This was so good. So this is
Yeah.
literally a true story about, and they didn't change the names. I'm not going to spoil anything, but there was literally a serial killer that was on one episode of the Dating Game, like just on TV, and
Yes.
at that
Yeah.
time
I do know that fact.
he killed a ton of people, and they do some small continuity lifts because I ended up YouTubing after a
Yeah.
great Paco rabbit hole right after, no problem. You know what I mean? What's the Mojo News? You gotta what's the thing? What's real? What's
That's
bad?
also your Skinamax movie, right? The Paco Rabbit Hole.
That's correct. That is absolutely true. But I just like and to me this was tense the whole thing, and I also think that credit to Anna Kendrick. There's a couple scenes, and when you watch it, you'll see it where I think she's kind of uncomfortable as like even like in personal life. Like I feel like that like she had a couple interactions, and I won't spoil some of it, but she has a person that's in the beginning of the movie that we know. Like we don't know, but like there's an actor that I was surprised to see, and they have a longer time at a bar, and the scene holds a little too long, and you're like, and even and they where they even comment on, they're like, should we just get out of here? Like, what do we do here? And I'm just like, oh my god, I've been on those like type of dates where it's like, okay, we know this is not happening. We know this isn't going to work. We got to go. Like so she did two of them in this, and I kind of feel like it might be in her just by seeing different interviews with her. I feel like that might be in her like nervousness. But what I learned about it is she read the script and they kept trying to shop it for directors and stuff. And then they went through another draft, and she was always attached to it. And went through another draft, and she knew all the drafts. And then when something came up, she like went to the producers like, "Can I direct this? I want to, and now I want to pluck all these scripts together." So good on her, man. Listen, it's so tension filled. And Tony Hale is playing like the host, like a Richard Dawson-esque,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
male chauvinist host. But everyone's good. The makeup artists for the television show are good. They have flashbacks to some murders, and they're very horrible and uncomfortable and tough to watch. And they should be. This guy's horrible.
I'm gonna push that to the front because that sounds like a definite movie
Dude,
I can watch with the wife.
it's excellent. It's excellent. Yeah, yeah. Me and Tora watched it, and she was like, I don't want to. And I showed like a short thing to her. She doesn't love horror movies, and
Did
she
she pick up your similarities with serial killers, like your actions or your? She's like, oh,
oh yeah, I
there's
just
a lot of
like
signs here.
there's a
Yep.
lot of red flags. This guy wants,
You know,
wants me to watch all true crime documentaries and serial killer things. Come on over.
you know what
You
show
know.
you probably should not watch with her? You watch Shrinking?
Uh, no, I watched the first couple, but I didn't. It's. I feel
You
like I feel like what's his name doesn't want to be there.
Harrison Ford?
I think Harrison Ford just is. I
Yep.
feel like he doesn't want to be anywhere anymore.
He does a good job. He's like the Andre Brower of Brooklyn Nine-Nine to this show.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know if you watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but Andre
Yeah,
Brower
yeah.
is just hilarious in his seriousness, and Harrison Ford brings that to the show. The show suffers from, I really enjoy Shrinking. The show suffers from over positivity, which sometimes is really good, but they'll be in the middle of a conversation like, oh, really cute shoes. And I'm like, okay, I like it. It's really positive. It's kind of like what Ted Lasso did. I mean, it's the Ted Lasso creators. You know,
Right.
it's still good. I like it a lot. But some of Jason Segel's energy is your energy. So you probably might not like it because there's like
Yeah.
a mirror
I
there.
could get that. I get that.
Yeah.
But I like all the Jason Segel like weird stuff. Like I like Forgetting Sarah Marshall for like the Dracula play. Like I like it for like the weirder stuff.
Why do you
know,
like it?
Because I see his penis.
Yeah. That's what it comes back to.
That's right.
No,
That's
but you're right. It's the weird stuff. And that's
It's
what
a
makes
little
it
dark.
funny.
It's like the insistence upon this. I have this concept. I want to insist upon this. I'm pretty sad that they didn't do a Muppets 2 because Muppets 2 I think was kind of a cool combination of like his love for like puppetry
Yeah.
and like weirdness, and then Amy Adams committing to the bit so hard. And I feel like they didn't know what to do with the second one. So they're like, we'll just have some people in it. And it's like,
And he just didn't have, did he even, was a consultant on it? I mean, was he a
no.
producer, executive producer, only because he helped with the first one, I guess?
Yeah, I'm trying to think who directed the second one. I want to say it was someone else. It was someone that I don't remember. It wasn't the same. All of it wasn't the same. Not the same music choices. Not the same. All around. But yeah, I would put Woman of the Hour like right on the top. Put that that was highest possible recommendation.
I watched
it
3
was
episodes
very
of
intense.
Superman and Lois. I'm a Superman, like I said. It's
From
Superman I'm
when?
watching.
Are you just going right to season 4 or 5? What were they at? 4?
This is the last season, season 4. I think it's only 10 episodes. It's better than season 3. Season 3 suffered from they had a Lois Lane cancer storyline, which is, it's a horrible topic and really depressing when you want to watch Superman. They acted it fine and it was all written fine, but it really took you out of Superman. So this season, it's dark. It's a lot of doomsday fighting, which sometimes looks cheesy, sometimes looks great. Sometimes it almost looks claymation, which makes it even more interesting to me. Like, that's the stuff I really, when it looks different, they're trying hard to make him look heavy and weighted, which CGI sometimes fails to do. But it's on a short budget. It's going to be the short season. James Gunn definitely wants to clear the air before his Superman movie hits next July. But everyone's good, and people are saying it's kind of like whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
They're trying to like wrap everything up, and I don't know if they're moving in that direction or not yet, but I can see some hints. So I'm enjoying it. I don't want to give away spoilers or anything. It's dumb. Like to try to do that, but like I don't know how many people are watching this and watching that.
No one.
No one.
Well, that's the problem, and even going back to Joker, you spent $200 million in this, right? For what musical budget? You paid probably Joaquin Phoenix. And first off, the first scene, like, do we need? Listen, and I know Christian Bale's away from it now, right? But
Yeah.
it's known, and he's talked about this. It's very bad for your body to do to do that, to go way down then way up. Like
Yes.
Christian Bale went down for Machinist, right? And then went up two up for Batman. Then he had to trim down. Then he did too big, and he had
Well,
to trim down
he
before
was small
Batman
for the first
Begins.
Batman. The first Batman, he couldn't get there quick enough.
Right,
But by Dark Knight, he succeeded.
right, right.
Did he? When did he do the movie where he was heavy? Did he do
He
heavy
did for Vice. Yeah, he did it. He was
Vice?
vice
Yeah.
president. Yeah,
I mean, that was
yeah.
still after that. That was after Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, but he's talked about it where it's not good to go up and down. I think that what's his name, Zac Efron did the same thing because Zac Efron went way up, and Leto did it one time too, where he played,
Oh
um,
yeah, with that Texas.
oh, that's McConaughey.
Outfit.
McConaughey went up and down. Like, listen, it's bad.
McConaughey.
It's
But he
bad
was in.
for you.
Well, Jared Leto was in that too, real skinny,
Oh,
wasn't
that's
he?
right. He was real skinny. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was thinking of Leto went up when he was like Mark David Chapman and killed Lennon, like that movie, which I
Yeah,
don't care. I
yeah.
don't want to see that. So, but yeah, just maneuvering your weight. But like you're taking it, what? He's probably got 30 million, Gaga got 20 million. And then we think about it and we talk about Lost Media. You have a Batgirl movie that you could put out, right?
Uh,
You cut the budget for Superman and Lois, right? You cut it
yeah.
down, you cut the
You cut it
episodes
down.
down, you cut it way down. It's just like, come on, man. Zaslav's just in there, just like looking, just like, yeah, what can I? And you're not going to like go on set and go like, you know what? I think this is a little misguided, Todd Phillips. Like, I don't know.
This is
And
a
and you had to pay a lot of
$200 million
money
Law and
for the
Order
show
episode.
tunes and all. Like, I just don't know. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, can you give that a bit more money?
Like
Probably.
Mariska Haggerty could walk in there and be like, "How much are you spending on this?" You know,
Right.
get,
Right.
get
Right.
Maloney in there. Chris Maloney. He's like 200 million for our show as a movie.
Yeah.
That's insane. Yeah, I don't know where that money is. I don't know where the money is. It's weird to. I can't fathom it.
Yeah.
And I know
Like Turner Fathom.
all movies are getting overspent on. You know, they're finally starting to reel that in. I know. Wasn't the Marvels like a $300 million movie?
Where's that movie? Yeah. Where's the money?
There's money for that. But
And it
Batgirl, like you said,
was 75, I think.
but they only got
Tested better. Tested better than Blue Beetle. Tested better than Shazam.
right and tested better than
It,
Aquaman.
well, yeah.
And what's
So
weird
it
is
has to be better than all of those, and all of those are not very good.
no,
Like
you
I
got
just don't
good
know.
people doing that movie. You got a good cast. You got Michael Keaton in it. You got J.K. Simmons in it, and you took a $20 million tax credit.
I never understand. Michael Keaton was on Saturday Night Live last night. I never understand
I
when
don't watch that yet.
when they go on Saturday Night Live. He did. I watched the monologue. He has a new movie called Goodrich out, and he mentions Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice already made its money. Goodrich out on Friday. You want to say Goodrich? Just say it. I don't even know what Goodrich is about. Doesn't matter.
Is it about the tire
It's a little
company?
movie. No, but it's a little movie. Just say it. Like just mention it, you know? Or mention all the projects you're in. You know what I mean? Like if Aubrey Plaza was on there, she every time she went on something, she would mention every project. It's like, hey, I'm in this, I'm in this, I'm in this. I'm in 3 movies. I'm in 2 movies that are out and I'm on TV. She was good at it. And then
Yeah.
she would just go like off the rails, and that's fine. But she is the most compelling thing when I got through half hour so far of Megalopolis. She is good in it so far. You know what I mean? Like, but
She's always
man,
good. You know what's funny? When you get to know her as that, when she's April on Parks and Rec, she's very solemn, very, sullen, very like very so serious. And then when she's on Legion, she's kind of similar, a little crazy. And then she breaks out into a musical number, and you're like, what the heck? Because you just don't know how talented she is.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
know
I'm not
how
caught up on
talented these
Agatha. I
people
don't
are.
know if I can do Agatha. I'm not sure.
No,
I
it's good.
watched one.
Oh, yeah, I guess we should talk about that. I enjoy Agatha. It's good. My wife likes it. My daughter likes it. It's a good family show. You know,
Mhm.
it's definitely worth watching. Her performance is phenomenal. Catherine Hahn is amazing.
Mhm.
Well, what's her name's amazing. It's they put together a cast of like great actresses.
Right. Right.
You know,
Yeah,
so
I'll get to
it's
it.
easy to it's very easy to watch. And every episode, even if you're a little bored during the episode, you know it's going to end because all of a sudden it gets really good, and then it ends, and you're like, they did it to me every week,
That's the
every
Disney
week.
Plus formula. It's like, here we go. Okay, here's about,
Sometimes Disney Plus
you
shows
know,
end, and you're like, nope, that's the end of that week. But they're doing a better job with this show.
yeah. You
Although
gotta
they,
give us some type of hook, man. The Penguin so far, and that's tonight, right? Yeah, the Penguin so far has been. I can't believe how good it is. I kind of
it's
can't believe
so
how good.
good.
And well, I guess we did talk a little bit because I was confused that that was Mark Strong. I didn't know that Soturo couldn't come back. I imagine or whatever as Maroni and or
Yeah,
Falcone rather, and
Falcone,
like
yeah.
just like where they call him Falcone again. I guess so. Okay, so you have Tom Wilkinson
Carmine,
in
not Inventino. He's Carmine Falcone.
uh, but like he was Falcone in the Nolans, yeah, that was Falcone, I believe.
Yeah, yeah.
Here it's Falcone. Matt Reeves, it's Falcone universe. Okay, I don't know. To me, it's just like that Arkham is a better Arkham. You did a better job. Like it's
Episode.
just
This is episode 4 we're talking about, and he was amazing. Arkham was amazing. So disheartening, like what she goes through.
yeah. You have the good origin. Listen, and you have and I was thinking and I don't really know how to describe. I don't think we've seen someone so under the makeup that's so different than who they are. So say you do Ron Perlman as the Beast, right? But still, it's still Ron Perlman as a person or Ron Perlman as Hellboy or whatever. But there's still elements of Ron Perlman. There's no element of a Colin Farrell in this, I don't think at all. Zero. I
No,
don't think so.
I
Then
don't
like
even
when
think about it while I'm watching it.
so when you watch Banshees of Inisherin, you should watch that second drop of that best Barry Keoghan performance. Should have won Best Supporting Actor, by the way. But like there's something that Colin Farrell does in that that's it's the reason why he got nominated is that he's slightly pulled back and he's dumber and he's just a little naive. And then same thing, Brendan Gleeson goes further away. And that whole story is literally about like one best friend tells the other best friend on this island where there's no Zoom and
Right?
like and he goes to his friend, he's like, I think I'm done doing this. We don't do anything, we don't talk about anything different. I'm done being your friend. I'm going to go do this and do that. Like I'm going to go make more hobbies and I'm going to play the violin and I'm going to do this. And if you keep, and this isn't spoiling, this is kind of the first scene, is like, if you keep coming to me, I'm going to cut one of my fingers off. Like, okay. And then guess
Yeah.
what? He's like, well, I miss my friends. I'm gonna go see him. And he goes see him, and then like literally like mails him like a finger. So like it's so crazy. The movie's crazy, and you wouldn't think it because you're like, oh, I really don't want to watch it because like the aesthetics of it, like it's an Irish country. So I don't care. Like it doesn't look compelling. It's not visually compelling. It is a little bit when you get into it, like when you're in it and there's a donkey, and it's so strange. But they're so good. Brendan Gleeson, I think good in Joker 2, but I didn't get a full character. I got like a caricature, you
You
know.
got you got a Shawshank guard. You got a Green Mile guard.
You
You
got
know,
a Green Mile Guard. Yes, you got it, and that's just not enough. So I just don't know. So yeah, so I feel a little salty this week. Next week I'm gonna full up. I know I do. I want to see if I can try and see Superman this week. I may try and see Brick by Brick, which is the Pharrell movie,
right?
which is supposed to be excellent, by the way. It's supposed to be excellent. It's supposed to be excellent also for like creativity people. So I feel like it'll probably be very inspiring. And he didn't want to do a traditional documentary, so when he approached the documentarian who did the Mr. Rogers documentary a couple years ago, which is excellent. Um, and he wanted to work with him, and then somehow they got Lego to agree to, and they do supposedly same thing with the Lego movies, is they do curse it. They do stuff that's like negative in a fun way in the Lego movies, Lego Batman or Lego 1 and 2. Um, apparently when Snoop Dogg's in and Snoop Dogg's smoking and they do something funny with that. I don't really know what it is. They do something funny when someone curses. They don't show the curse, but they don't play the curse. It's a PG movie, but they'll do like a poop coming out of the mouth or something like
Yeah.
that. Hey man, great.
You know what's
Great.
funny? You go. That's funny. We'll reconvene next Sunday about our media. You're going to see this. That movie seems really interesting. I'll probably wait for
Yeah.
streaming, but and then vice versa. I'm taking the family and friends to go see Venom. So we'll see Venom next Saturday. Yeah.
No, thank you. Again, I'll never watch. You know, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go never. I
You
never saw the first one.
seem like a snob, dude. You seem like a comic
I
snob.
know. I agree. I
13-year-old
agree.
Mark would be shaking his head at you like, "You're not gonna see a Venom
I
movie?"
think I'd have. I think even then I would be a little mad that there's no Spider. Like I would
Well, yeah,
want. I would want. Okay. So let's go. 13-year-old me. When did Punisher come out? When did the Punisher come out on video?
probably
Caroline's
1990.
video. Cooper Street. Sam. Here's my 235. So there was a Japanese man who ran Caroline's Video. He bought it from. It was my
Caroline?
hometown video store, Caroline's, and
You
he
buy
bought
it
it from
from her?
Caroline, I guess, and left it Caroline's Video. Answers the phone. Caroline's. I used to call my dad because I had train spotting out for too long. You know, when I was older. Mark has train spotting. Call my dad. It's Sam Caroline's. And he didn't say any adjectives. I'm not trying to be. It's not a racist impression. It's exactly what he sounded like. But I would go there and then I'd put something on the counter. You go 235. So 235. Here's my 235 quarters, paper route money from Steve Miller. You know, we'd collect and I would get a portion of the collection paper route money
Right,
Sunday.
right.
So anyway, the Punisher movie, I'd have to see. It might have been an 89, 90, right? 12, 13 Mark.
Definitely
Okay.
after Batman. Batman's June of '89, so Punisher
Right.
was
90, 91, maybe 13, 14-year-old Mark. Okay. I would have trouble with Venom 1 because I was a little snob then because I didn't like that movie had not even spray paint on.
which the comic book adaptation had.
The
I read
comic
the comic
adaptation
book
had,
adaptation
correct.
first,
I believe I did too as well.
and I'm
Yes.
like, "Oh, what a cool scene!" He spray paints the skull on his armor,
Which
and
had to have been in the script. I think it maybe even had to be on set at one point, and they tried it and they're like, we don't love it on film. Maybe. I don't know. Again,
maybe
let's
because like
interview Dolph Lundgren. Let's call him.
they couldn't.
Maybe we can get him.
The problem probably is because it was so low budget. They probably could only do it by spray painting a skull, and it probably just looked like shit when they filmed it. I bet you it's filmed.
Right.
Where
Yeah.
today you'd see someone spray paint it, and then they would flash the full costume, and it would be this $100,000 armor
Yeah.
with like a special plastic that can be, you know, they would do that today. But
Yeah,
then it's like real spray paint, and it's probably this looks
that's
like
why I like the Tom Holland like videos or and I saw one. I think I took a picture of it. I was at a con, like a small convention, and someone cosplayed the Spider-Man like Year Zero, like the new Tom
uh
Holland version, and he had like the sweatpants on, the sweatshirt, and the goggles. Looked
right.
awesome. Looked awesome. And I think we're eventually going to get that freshman year cartoon, which
Yeah,
Chris Samnee worked on and Leandro Romero worked on,
New
both comic book artists.
New York had
Worked
a
on
whole
that.
thing. Actually, I have a cool. I can show it to the camera. I got this little pin. It's
Oh,
the
okay. Yep.
Spider-Man. It's that
There you go.
Spider-Man costume. Swinging.
Yep.
Had a big setup. There's a picture of me standing in front of it doing a face. Like,
You believe this?
I know. That's exactly this guy.
You got to give me that picture. I can make it as if I can figure out the thumbnail portion of this thing. I can do that.
Yes. Yeah.
I
You
changed my
figure that out.
thumbnail from me going like this to like
People
half
want to see.
laughing.
Yeah.
A little bit better. But yeah, I need to get we're gonna figure out logos and music and all that stuff. We're just trying to figure it out. But you know, again, whole philosophy, trying to be positive about all the stuff I was super negative this week. But
It's about being positive, but it's also I just love telling people fun things that we enjoy. Go
Mhm.
find these things. See if you enjoy them. You know, like we briefly touched on
Tell
Three
us what to do.
Jokers
Write some
earlier.
comments. Yeah.
We touched on Three Jokers. Go read Three Jokers. It's great.
Yes.
And that to follow up with that, the Joker World was that. What was the DC special that came out 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I didn't finish it. Yeah, Joker of the World, I think
The
it is.
World.
Yeah,
The Joker, the World.
the Joker of the World.
There's an epilogue to the Three Joker story. That's
Mm.
phenomenal.
First story. Yep.
First story.
Jason Fabak.
Fabak.
Jason Fabak. Jeff Johns, Jason Fabak. Which again,
Sounds like a Klingon word. Fabak.
DC doesn't care about this is the problem. They don't care about. I mean, they might be going back to it a little bit with the absolute stuff if they can get the word of that, but they don't care about some of the vision sometimes. Like the Black Label, again, they are diluting Black Label. Absolute could have been what Black Label could have been. Like I just feel like they're just re-diluting. They took away Vertigo, and then they started making stuff that was Vertigo, and they reprinted as Black Label, Sandman, Black Label.
Do you want Vertigo back? You want it? Do
I
you need
don't
it?
know because you don't have Karen Berger. You don't have because originally there were fringe titles, and then they became Shade the Changing Man and Swamp Thing and Sandman.
Right.
So you had fringe titles, and then you had a little bit further fringe, or Hellblazer. So you had John Constantine. So I feel like any Vertigo, I think Young Animal had it good. I think Young Animal was correct. Young Animal was the next evolution, but I wish he had a successor. I wish he had someone he worked with. I wish Gerard Way had someone that he worked with, because then maybe they could have kept it going.
Yeah.
But almost every series out of Young Animal was pretty good. There was that Gotham series like that they had. It was set in Gotham, right? And then you had Prez by Mark Russell, which is very good.
That was really good. You had
Doom Patrol 2
Doom Patrol.
series, excellent.
Yeah.
And was Young Animal also Snaggletooth, or that was, I don't know if that was Young Animal. I'm not sure. I guess I'm just thinking Mark Russell, but probably I don't think it was. But like but it felt like that. But if you kept that going, so it depends. But I also feel like, but I guess if you think about that, Absolute Martian Manhunter, that picture, that would be a Vertigo series. That would have been a Vertigo
that looks Vertigo
version.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been a Vertigo version of that. So I don't know. Like, just to me, they didn't completely commit to Black Label. There was backlash from the first day with Bad Penis, and I guess the theme of this episode is just me liking penis. Well, it's looking at penis in media, sure. But like that happened, the fact that it happened, and then the next printing and all digital printing, they darkened it, so you couldn't see. Like, so fine, the Bat Dong. Yeah, so to me, it just like they never fully got the idea of Black Label. So I guess Black Label is just now just going to be like in continuity fringe stories, but they brought Elseworlds back, so that also dilutes Black Label.
Right.
And then now they're bringing Vertigo back, which also dilutes Black Label. So I just don't know. And then Absolute also is like, okay, we're gonna have this thing over here. Oh, so branding. So they're doing the Vertigo strip, great, but everything is all in. All in should just be representative of DC proper. DC proper continuity, non-change. And Absolute should be a different trade dress. I don't care if you have to rip off Marvel. And also, but I didn't say this last week, the covers of the first issue, the whitish covers, they did that already. They did that at 52, didn't they?
Yes.
The zero issues? You already did that. So don't do that again. Don't do the white cover. Do something else. Do something else. It looks the same. You're doing the same reset you already did at 52. You did it. You're doing it again. It's like, I don't know, but
do a new corner box trade dress.
If you have an absolute Batman, you shouldn't have an all-in thingy on there. No,
correct.
Zero. All right.
I
think that's my final rant of the day. Yeah, I don't have anything else.
Let me see if I can do a quick circle back to anything I had written down. Back to Flash Gordon for 1 second. I think the best Flash Gordon comic was not Flash Gordon, it was Starlight. The Mark Miller kind of a Flash Gordon as Dark Knight Returns.
Old man.
It's funny. He always does this. He'll like, oh, this comic is like this. But when he goes and sells the movie rights, he can't say that anymore. You can't say this is Flash Gordon, Dark Knight, old man, because people who own Flash Gordon will say something. He used to say Nemesis was a evil Batman, and then he'd be like, "Oh, I never said that. He's not evil Batman.
Right.
He's what if a character was rich? What if a rich playboy? That's not Batman."
King of Spies is Bond, right?
Yeah. First it's like retired Bond, and he's like, no, it's just a retired spy. Not like he starts off with the other brand, with the other copyrighted trademark.
Eminem called me. That guy was never meant to be Eminem. Well,
no,
first cover, he looks like Eminem. You know what I mean? Like, it's that's a bait. See, that's kind of like that's so funny.
Yes,
that was like kind of a bait, and then he tried to make it real, and it didn't become real. And then it's like, I never said that.
We've never been in talks with Halle Berry to play the Fox. That was never a thing.
Right.
Just J.G. Jones, he just drew her like that.
That's fine. Listen, the Joker was based off of what? It was The Man Who Laughs is based off of that, right?
Yeah.
So it's not as if like this is a new comic book thing. That's a very early comic book thing that came over.
Superman is John Carter plus Flash Gordon plus weightlifters from the circus. It's just everything.
Yeah, it's a circus outfit, right? That was Grant Morrison's argument when he did New X-Men, because he's like, I don't want them to have everyone's been having circus uniforms since 1930s. I want
Yeah.
to have what this is modern. And just to kind of close positively on Flash Gordon, you brought it back to Flash Gordon and the non-Flash Gordon. Um, look, we wouldn't have Star Wars, man. We wouldn't have Star Wars because the rights
Yeah.
holders for Flash Gordon have been so difficult and went from like 3 to 5 comic book publishers over so many years, right? Um, they wanted to make their own movie. They wanted to make they kept Lucas away from it. So okay, I'll just go make Star Wars. So that could be that's a good circle back, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was supposed to be Flash
That's
Gordon.
the greatest Flash Gordon story of all time.
That's why the Crawl's there. The Crawl's there because that's based off the Buster Crab shorts, the Buster Crab serials that he would watch in the movie theater.
They call them the crab crawls. They don't. One other funny thing, I was talking, we were a friend and I were talking about Wolverine Deadpool, or Deadpool Wolverine, because that came out. I guess you get it digitally, and the sales are through the roof. It's like, I think it's a new record breaker. Like people just want to own this movie, and it hit me a funny idea. Like when they're going through the multiverse looking for a Wolverine to bring back to the Deadpool universe, they do Age of Apocalypse and Hulk fighting Wolverine. They go through these universes. I'm like, it would have been awesome if they would have did that. What if Wolverine was an Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is drawn by Liefeld?
Oh yeah.
As a quick little caveat, like here's Wolverine, blue shield costume, and who's standing behind him? David Hasselhoff, Nick Fury. That would be for us.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like the coolest of cameos.
The Hoff would have done it.
He was a good Nick Fury. His TV movie.
I like that movie.
That was good.
I like the movie when it came out. I taped it. I was on video, and I also like the fact that it was so kind of bad but good, that I believe, if I know the story right, he didn't like the eye patch. He couldn't see through it. So they created an eye patch he could see through. But guess what? Most of the scenes were lit a certain way. You can see his eye. You can see the eye through the eye patch.
I think that TV movie was the first time they took that battleship and made it into the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. And then the Ultimates used it, and then they do it in the official Avengers movie.
Yeah.
But I think that was the first time we saw that.
That was David Goyer. That was David S. Goyer wrote that.
Yeah.
And
I like the woman who played Madame Hydra. I think she had been in the second Mortal Kombat movie.
Yeah, and you had what's her name as
the Contessa.
Yeah, Contessa LaFontaine. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up.
Lisa Rinna.
I hear my family home making noise.
Okay. Yeah, Sophia popped in when she was like leaving. She was like, "I'm trying to wait." I'm like, "Don't talk to me. I'm recording right now."
This is important.
Yeah, this is important. This is important. This means something.
So, so hit us up. If you like it, leave messages here on YouTube.
Yeah, throw some comments in there. We're trying to set up other stuff, but we're full-time workers and overtime and Saturdays and Comic-Cons and and me sitting in a movie theater angry with my popcorn.
Yeah, and your chicken fingers.
Yeah.
Movie theater grade chicken fingers.
That's right. No good.
All right. Mark, you have a good week.
Yep. You too.
We'll reconvene next Sunday.
Yes, correct.
All struck up.
All struck way up.
All right. See you.